Hey there, Comic Clan, and welcome to Comics in the Cross, the greatest streamers you have never heard of. I, of course, am one of your hosts for today, Cross, along with my co-host as always, Nitro.
What up, everyone? How's it going?
Thank you for coming and joining us today and being part of this awesome conversation. This is a conversation we've been waiting to have for a long time.
You know, we've probably had this conversation at least 10 times outside of this audience.
Yeah, we've talked about this I don't know how many times, even before we came on for the pre-show and stuff that we do. Like, we started chatting about it and stuff, and like, we really need to stop because we need to go live and do the pre-show thing, and like, we can't start talking about this now because it's just literally the show. That's literally the point of us doing this show.
What we're trying to say is the show's over. Have a good evening.
Yeah, we've talked about it. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but we're good. But yeah, thank you for everyone coming in and checking us out. Just a couple of points, like, we do have our links up here above Nitro for our sponsors. Let me drop our link for them. For Gamer Grind, the number one coffee for gamers, hashtag on that grind. And also for the coldest water, where you can see those links popping up in chat. The link for the coldest water, click on that to kick some money back to us, and also get yourself the last water bottle you will ever need and help fight plastic waste around the world. And for Gamer Grind, go ahead and click on that link and use Comics in the Cross at checkout to save yourself 5% on anything that you purchase there. We have some amazing stuff taking place there. Also as well, we're going to be keeping an eye on that. Hey Lala, thank you so much for popping in with that lurk. We appreciate that. Thank you for stopping by. But yeah, so we're going to keep an eye on it. I might end up having to delete that again. I've had to like delete and re-upload that slideshow because last week during the podcast and during crossplay on Monday night, our like slideshows of pictures were doing this weird thing where it was almost like glitching, and it would go like big across the screen and back within like a second. So I have, for anyone who's got their stuff up, that's usually rotating on our bottom corner here. Some of the different like podcasts and stuff that we follow, some of the other streamers that we help support. I have taken that away right now. It will be coming back to support the people that we like showing our support to, but I want to make sure the thing can run with one before I put in another little slideshow and try and not overexert it. Mountain Nerd Pod coming in with the lurk as well. Let me do some shout outs while we're shout out for Mountain Nerds Podcast. Go and give Caleb a follow over there. They are awesome friends of ours, doing some amazing content over there. You definitely want to go and check those out. And Lala coming in with that lurk as well. Let me do a shout out for Good Kid Dad, another person who keeps popping in with lurks and showing love and support to the channel. And then of course a shout out to good friends of this channel. They are practically members of Comics in the Cross at this point, the Infinity Bros. But the fact that he was reduced to that was so awful. Yeah, absolutely, Infinity Bros. Yeah. Whether that's Isaac or Robbie or any of the other bros actually on the account. It's usually Isaac, and I can't keep track now that there's multiple ones that are actually doing streams on it.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Yeah, but we're definitely going to get into that. But yeah, so massive shout out for today is to push our 12-hour charity stream that we're going to be doing. CV coming in with that lurk while I reassemble a collapsed closet. Oh yeah, definitely RIP on that closet. Yeah. Hope everything. It is Isaac. And it is Isaac on the Infinity Bros. Hey Isaac. But sweet. Let me do a shout out for CV as well.
Isaac, this one's for you guys.
A shout out for CV, another good friend of ours. Go and give her a follow as well. A lot of these people were shouting out, by the way. A lot of them I have reached out to and are going to be involved in the 12-hour stream, just as a transition to me talking about that. So a massive thank you to them for wanting to be involved in that. We are reassembling the schedule for that a little bit, because I was looking at it the other night when talking to another person I was asking to get involved. And she went, oh yeah, I'll be free probably around about 7 o'clock that night to play some games. And I realised like all our gameplay was taking place from like when we start streaming at like 10:30 through to like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, we have no gameplay. We've got multiple games we're playing, we have no games getting played in the evening.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
there was all the heady stuff in the evening, like trivia and all that stuff.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, we need to change this up a little bit. So I think we've got a good schedule for that now. So I'm going to be reaching out to all our people getting involved in that to talk about it. But for those that are wanting to be involved, put it into your calendars. We are going to be doing our 12-hour charity stream, if you have not heard, on April 25th. That is a Sunday, April 25th. We are going to be going live at 10 a.m. Eastern, all the way through to 10 p.m. Eastern. We are going through 12 hours straight, trying to raise money for TACA, the Autism Community in Action, an amazing organisation that helps people that have been diagnosed with autism, as well as their families, to help find resources, help people to come and assist with what's taking place now that their lives have changed. Coming from a family with a kid that is autistic, that's a massive thing that hits you as a parent, and it's a massive thing that hits the family, and it changes not just the direction of that kid's life, but that family's life forever. So a company that's willing to support all of that is absolutely phenomenal. So I'm speaking directly with them, getting information off of them, and we're going to be setting up a page with them directly to go ahead and ads coming in with that resub for 6 months. Thank you so much, ads. One of the big supporters of the channel since day one. Absolutely love you, brother. Still really and always a member of the Stan clan. Absolute legend. But yeah, so we are going to be setting up stuff with the organisation themselves, so that when we do the fundraising, the link to the funding is going to go straight to them. And as with that host as well, thank you so much for that host, ads. I appreciate it. So we're going to be doing a thing where we send the money straight to them, so it's not going to go through another party, it's not going to go through another website, it's going to go straight to the organisation themselves, which I am all for. I'm all for them getting it. No one else is getting a cut of the money. We are not taking anything of the money. It is all going straight to them. We also have some amazing giveaways that are going to be taking place. We have a variety of Funko Pops getting given away, including a more rarer one. We've got a Batman Hush Blu-ray. We've got copies of Berserker #1. 3 different covers are going to be getting given away of that I just picked up this week, and they are all stunning. We've got Lewis Southard is sending us a signed copy of Midnight Western Theatre that we talked about in the show a few weeks ago, to do as a giveaway. Brainy Pixel has given us copies of Tenant's Tale and Chronicles of Faith David for digital copies to give away. We have so many giveaways that we'll be doing when we hit different benchmarks and hit different milestones as we work on our way to raise $1,000. So the big thing that we need from all of you in the Comic Clan is to help us promote this. Help us put that out there, put all this information out there, and advertise to everyone that this is taking place, and get the word out there to help us raise these funds. Also, if you're a streamer and want to get involved, or if you're someone who's got some ideas that you would like to put forward for it, we are all ears. Please reach out to us on Discord. That's where most of the stuff takes place, and where most of the conversations happening about it. Please reach out to us there, or on our social media pages. And we're more than happy to take that stuff in and look it over. And we're still a good couple of months out from the actual stream, so we can reshuffle stuff. If there's someone comes up with an amazing idea, I want to give it props. Also as well, Comic Clan, I need you to DM me on this one directly, either to the Comics and the Cross like social medias, or to me if you know me personally. We are doing a trivia night as part of the 12-hour stream. I'm getting a bunch of people together, and yeah, it's still doing that glitching thing. I just seen it happen. I don't know if
I saw it too. I don't know
what's going. Maybe I just need to reshuffle stuff and just have the actual logos up and not like a slideshow. There seems to be just a slideshow that does it. But yeah, so we're going to be doing the trivia night, but I'm putting together a bunch of questions for it. One of the things I would love is for the Comic Clan to come together and suggest questions. And it can be anything. As long as it's a safer work question, we're still keeping it family friendly. But as long as it's safer work, it can literally be questions on anything. And I'm going to have a section of questions that are literally from the Comic Clan. If we get enough, I'd love them to all be from the Comic Clan. But we're going to at least have a section of questions from the Comic Clan that get put forward. If you have a question you would love to put towards them, it doesn't matter what it is. It can be absolutely anything on any subject. Go ahead and DM me and put that towards us, because we would love to get your input. But yeah, so we're dead excited for that. Literally most of our stuff is going towards getting that together and getting that ready to go right now. I feel like we've been planning it for forever at this point.
Yeah.
But it's good though. It's good. We're getting there. I'm honestly so excited for it.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a ton of
Yeah,
fun.
and we're going to be doing community games such as like golf with your friends. We've got a bunch of people involved, but there's always spots in that. We're going to be doing Jackbox Party games. We're going to be doing Among Us. So we're going to be doing a bunch of different community games as well to get people involved in. So we want all of you to be involved in this too. All right, it's enough plugging the 12-hour stream, I think. Let's jump into the little bit of news we've got this week. We don't have a lot of news. It mostly seems to be Marvel stuff at the same time. The first major thing is there's a report coming out from Illuminati. And I'm calling it a rumor at this point because they're literally the only people I've seen reporting on it. I've not seen anyone else reporting this. There's been no official announcement, so it's just Illuminati, but it's got a lot of people talking that the X-Men are going to be making their MCU debut in a movie titled The Mutants. Okay. It's not going to be the X-Men initially, it's going to be The Mutants is going to be the initial thing. What do we think of that title? That's literally all we've got. That's the announcement. We've not got ideas of story, of who could be in it, of directors, of writers, of anything. Literally all we've got is a possible title.
I think that their biggest job is going to be separating these X-Men from the ones that have come previously. And I think starting off, just naming it something out of left field. I mean, it's not totally out of left field, but naming it something totally different, I think is a good way to go.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a good way to break it up as well. Like, you could literally do the mutants. Like, the way this world is set up, the mutants don't exist at this time. Which reasons to believe the X-Men won't exist. So, like, our first sight into mutants existing, it might simply be that, like, mutants exist, we don't have X-Men yet. You know, and maybe by the time at the end of the first movie, we're going to have the X-Men established.
Yeah.
And the X-Men are actually there. But at this time, we don't have X-Men, so we can't do a movie called X-Men. And it's just mutants and doing the wider world, and it might even be a wider spread thing rather than focusing on this group of, like, how are mutants introduced to this world?
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you feel like that's going to happen? How do you feel like they're going to be introduced as a whole? Because they're a good portion of the population. I mean, a good.
I still
percentage.
I still think the 4 running theories on it are still probably the most likely. And right now, those seem to be either something to do with Scarlet Witch. Because a lot of people thought that was going to happen at the end of WandaVision.
Yeah.
But, you know, kind of partial spoilers for what's coming at the end of WandaVision, like, it's definitely not the end of Wanda's story. Like, we're not going to try. We're going to try and not do any spoilers right now. We're talking the news. We'll give you a big spoiler line. But, like, this isn't an ending to Wanda or Vision.
This is like part 1.
This is like an opening, like, of the next chapter, especially for Wanda. Even like during the show, getting the moniker of Scarlet Witch officially, which she was never officially given before in the MCU.
Outfit.
The outfit looks amazing.
Dude, it looks awesome.
But, like, so that's, for me, that's still very much a forefront. A lot of people thought that was a way that was going to go. And they've definitely built her powers up enough to be powerful enough to do that. And then the other big one that people were talking about was multiverse. Like, it's going to be something to do with the multiverse. Either bringing them in or something gets released during that, or, you know, which I still think is probably the most forefront way to do it, because the opening of the multiverse is obviously going to be such a big part of the MCU this phase. You know, even if we didn't get a lot of it as we thought we were going to get in WandaVision, we've definitely got it taking place in Doctor Strange. We've definitely got elements of it taking place in Spider-Man 3, even if Tobey and Andrew aren't officially confirmed. It doesn't look like they're going to be. At this point, like, it's still very much a possibility of the thing that's going to affect it, I believe.
Do you think they're going to be in it?
I don't know. It's like, I feel like they could be still. Like, it's very much. I can very much see it being a case of if Marvel do it, they're not going to announce it. like they might keep it quiet and keep it as a big reveal. But then again, I've seen them give away stuff before, so like it very well might. Oh, your camera looks like it's freezing a little bit, dude.
I think they're in it, but I think you're choppy a bit too on my end.
Oh. Yay, technology.
I think they're going to be in it, but I just don't think it's going to be like just a cameo. I don't.
Thank you so much for everyone that hung around. It looks like we're back up and running. Yeah, like I've got a notification like popping up as skipped frames and stuff, but it's not from like today. I'm getting no notification saying that there's any issues with the internet, so I don't know what's happening with that. So,
but we're good. We're good now.
So I think we're set now. So apologies for that. Thank you for everyone that hung around. That waited for us to boot back on. That's like the death when you live stream. Is the moment you're like, I have to restart the stream. Is that people are just going to go, oh, I'm not hanging around, and just disappear off to someone else's stream. So thank you so much for everyone that did hang around for that.
Yeah, Coop and Junk and Isaac just made fun of us the whole time. So.
Yeah. I'm going to say that's no different. They do that anyway. That's all they do anyway. But yeah, so I'm intrigued to see what they do with the mutants and stuff. What's your kind of main idea? What do you think's going to be the thing that brings the mutants?
I mean, I have no idea. They've kind of broached the subject in WandaVision when they, and we're not going into super spoilers, but I did want to reference one thing when they were talking about how she already had the powers. It's just.
I'm sorry, just to chat. Like Chunk's like, of course we did. And Coop's like, wait, I made fun of no one.
I mean, she already had the power, but the Mind Stone just amplified it. So I think.
Yeah, I'm so glad they retconned that.
Yeah,
I'm so glad they retconned that.
So obviously, I think mutants exist, but there's going to be an inciting incident that it's going to have to do something with the Mind Stone. So I think Wanda's going to have to be the driver behind the inciting incident.
See, that's the interesting thing with it though. Like with her powers now, like being revealed, because like obviously again spoilers coming forward, that it's revealed like that her powers weren't given by the Mind Stone; they were just amplified by it, as Nitro says.
Yeah.
But it's heavily hinted at that she gets called Scarlet Witch because she is the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
As a being that's talked about in the Darkhold, that's referenced that exists from birth, like they have these powers, and I'm like, is that going to be translated into she's a mutant then? Because it's very much hinting at of like that she's this magical being, this witch that's born a certain way from birth.
The way that I took
they've not necessarily set up mutants in that way.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
I don't know.
Is it set up to turn into mutants, or is it a case of like if they changed it to being like a mutant thing, is that going to add more to this like already retcon that they've just done?
So the way that I took it is that somehow, some way, the Scarlet Witch is attached to either the Mind Stone itself or the Mind Stone energy. And not necessarily that Wanda is or was the Scarlet Witch pre-Mind Stone, but that her interaction with the Mind Stone connected her with the Scarlet Witch. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, but did Agnes not say though that it was? Did Agatha not say that it was like from birth though? Like
I don't remember that part. Yeah, you could probably just blew my whole theory right out the water. I don't remember that.
Yeah, because like I'm sure she says that at the start of the season finale. I'm sure she says like that it's something that they're born with. She hints at it when she's on the street with her.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
and that's what
I just said then.
Yeah, and I think that's why like when they do like, because she kind of hints at it in the size of power that she's got. Because she talks about the fact she's had no training, but she's this powerful, and only the Scarlet Witch can do that. And then when they do like the rerun episode, when they go back through her life, they talk about the fact of why the bomb didn't go off that landed in their home, and it was actually because of her. That power was already there in her.
I see what you're saying.
So like she's always had that power, just the Mind Stone like amplified it and released it in a way.
I just think they're gonna have a really hard time like showing or justifying all mutants coming from the multiverse. I think there has to be a subset of mutants that at least they already exist, and they're going to be amplified by an inciting incident, whatever that is, whatever that means.
They might just take the Inhumans route,
like a Terrigen Mist,
like not using the Terrigen Mist for example, but like when they wanted to, like in the comics when Fox owned X-Men, and they really wanted to push the Inhumans. In the comics, Marvel did the whole Terrigen Mist thing that happens in Infinity, and this Terrigen Mist like goes round the world and starts activating this dormant Inhuman gene that people didn't know they had, and just turning them into Inhumans.
Yeah.
If it's going to be something like that, of like something that unlocks, like these people are mutants but they don't know it, it's this dormant thing, and something unlocks that potential. And
yeah, that's what basically Isaac said in the chat. I think I kind of agree with that.
yeah, I mean, I think if they're going to do a wide scale like that, but then again, there's nothing saying that it will be wide scale. We
True.
could,
I mean,
we could
I don't
start.
see them doing it regionally though.
You know, we could start with a small subsect of mutants that we find out about, and it's only later on do we do a thing where it becomes a widespread worldwide thing.
I mean, they could make part of the narrative of the movie, the Mutants movie, is there's a driving force, whether that be a person or organization, that's trying to unlock mutant abilities.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing. I think at this point we know X-Men and Mutant are coming.
Yeah.
And if WandaVision has taught us anything, every theory we have is wrong.
Yeah. Everything that we've
everything that we've ever came up with is wrong. That's what this show taught me.
It's like, what do you think is gonna happen? Yeah, you're wrong.
Yeah, like legitimately, like every theory people came up with, it was like, nah, no, that's not going to happen. We're not even going to do that. These characters that are going to cameo that we're certain of, not even going to show up.
And the thing is, like, I think overall, Marvel fandom is usually spot on with at least a lot of their theories. But with this one, it was like an 85% fail rate.
Coop, I don't know what's going on, but Coop's just getting ripped apart in the chat. It was like Isaac and Chunk are just destroying him. I don't know why, but he's became the target today. But yeah, and then okay, the other big announcement, to jump into that, because there's not any more news on the mutant thing. It's literally theories. Yeah. We could do a whole show on theories. I say the X-Men are coming to rescue Quicksilver.
Mr. Boner. Is that the Quicksilver you're talking about?
I'm not going to say anything right now because there's a rant coming on that. I know it from both me and Nitro. There's going to be a rant on that one, so I'm going to hold back on that one at the minute. The other big bit of news, total rumor, throwing that out there, 100% rumor at this point, is that now that Stan Lee obviously has passed away, is not able to do the Stan Lee cameos in the Marvel movies. One of the highlights of the Marvel movies was finding the Stan Lee cameo in each of them. His last one obviously took place, no more, as the Ryan Reynolds Deadpool is now going to fill that gap and be Mr. Cameo in all the MCU movies to come. Like, he's just going to show up as a cameo randomly. Which I'm like, if there was anybody that was going to take that spot, that's probably the person to do it.
Yeah.
Is Deadpool just randomly showing up, literally fits his character.
I'm okay with that. I mean, the only thing is, I feel like Stan Lee was kind of a chameleon in who he could portray in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan Reynolds is, let's be honest, Ryan Reynolds is either Ryan Reynolds or Deadpool.
Well, that's it though. It's like, it's from what I've seen from the rumor was that it's going to be Deadpool showing up, so it's not going to be like a Stan Lee cameo where it's clearly Stan Lee just doing a different thing.
Yeah.
Like, the cameo is literally going to be Deadpool randomly showing up.
Okay.
It's, at least from what I took from it, but again, this is all rumor.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what that could look like.
I'm just happy he's in the MCU now.
Yeah, like the fact that Deadpool 3 is definitely happening, and like, I'm all for. And I mean, that's definitely a great thing that's happening. Show up as his character in Blade 3. Oh dear goodness, please no. Blade 3 is such a bad movie. That needs to be a podcast at some point. Like
I don't know if I've actually sat through that movie front to back before.
The downward decline of Blade, from like Blade 1 and 2 both being amazing movies, to then Blade 3. And I'm like, wow, that went downhill quick, because like, I can literally argue back and forth for Blade 1 and Blade 2 which one the better movie is, and depending what day you ask me, I'll give a different answer probably on which one the better movie is.
I don't really remember Blade 2.
Blade 2 was the vampires, like the Reapers that like ate up vampires. So like, Blade has to team up with.
What's better than vampires? Double vampires.
See, but
Vampire cubed.
But the best thing was was the main bad guy, Nomak. Who was he played by again? I've literally forgot the actor's name, but the guy that plays like the main villain for that.
Oh yeah, didn't he play in Flash? Wasn't he like Captain Cold?
No, that
No,
wasn't
I'm
him.
thinking of somebody else.
Yeah, no, he played the character he ended up playing was the only other major thing I remember him from is from Hellboy 2. The movie Hellboy 2, he plays like the prince in that, like who's again the villain. Funnily enough, white skinned villain. He apparently plays that role well. It's like, but like he was phenomenal as a villain. I absolutely loved him. Like he basically played a vampire that was basically like a crack addict.
Luke Goss is his name.
That was
like
I keep wanting to see Luke. I keep wanting to say Luke Evans. Like I was getting Luke in my head. I kept wanting to say Luke Evans, and I'm like, that's not right. That's a different actor.
Dude, I didn't know Donnie Yen was in that movie. I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. All right.
Are we shocked at this point?
What's up, Frostbite?
Frostbite in the chat. How is it going, brother? Good to see you. But yeah, so it's like I'm all for it. I'm all for Deadpool doing the cameos. I think they could do something funny with that. I think it's something different to do with Deadpool.
Yeah.
To kind of even to help tease him and incorporate him, because I don't know how incorporated he'll become as part of the MCU. Just because Deadpool 3 is going to be a continuation for him.
Yeah.
Instead of a reset, and it's also going to be the first R-rated MCU movie. So I'm like, I don't know how much they're going to try and incorporate him with other people. I know they'll have to at points, but like this could be a good way of doing it, and at least starting that.
As little as I know about Moon Knight, I feel like a movie between Moon Knight and Deadpool would be freaking hilarious.
Yeah, I mean that's literally it. That's gonna be hysterical to see.
Dude, that would be funny.
I literally want to see Deadpool and Punisher, like John Bernthal's Punisher, now that they've got him back with Deadpool.
Oh yeah.
Like, because what is it? Is it Suicide Kings is the graphic novel I got of that, and it's like it's the two of them crossing paths, and it's hysterical. Because like Frank is so serious and Deadpool is so not, and he just has no time for him at all. Like, Chunk saying 1 and 2 were amazing, 3 was just so bad. It was. 3 was an awful. Hey, what's better than a vampire? Vampire dog. Vampire Pomeranian.
Oh my gosh, it was so bad, dude.
It's like, somebody CGI'd that. That's all I'm saying. It was someone's job to give a vampire jaw to that little dog.
Give Ryan Reynolds all the steroids.
And she just retired the cameos. It'd be funny if Deadpool took his place, but I think it would be more honouring if they just stopped. Yeah, that's another thing as well, Isaac. That's another thing as well. It's like, it'd be nice to just stop it and go, that's the end of the cameos, because it was Stan Lee's thing.
Yeah,
and the thing with the Stan Lee cameos is it wasn't an MCU exclusive thing. He's been doing that since before the MCU even existed. He has been cameoing in these movies. So, honestly, I'm good either way. I'm good for either. I think if they choose to honour him, I'm all about honouring Stan Lee. As you guys clearly know, I mean, we've got the Stan Lee emotes. Our subs are called the Stan Clan. It's like, I've clearly got a love for Stan Lee. If they did it with Deadpool, I have no doubt and trust in Marvel that they would do it right.
Chunk, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they've already announced Blade as PG-13. I'm pretty sure about that, actually.
Frostbite trying to be as non-spoilery as possible. We're trying not to hit spoilers just yet. We were doing bits of news, but we're going to go full spoilers in like a minute or two. But he's like, just got here. I don't know how spoilery you're getting, but I want to see the guy from WandaVision go team up with Moon Knight to start the West Coast Avengers. Funnily enough, you were just showing me this comic the other night, Nitro, from your collection.
What's that? Yeah. Are we allowed to talk about it right now? Or are we waiting?
Okay, disclaimer. This is it. Big disclaimer. Everything from this point is going to be WandaVision spoilers. If you have not seen it, come back and watch the show later. We're going to be on our YouTube channel. This is going to be uploaded to there. Or you can get our podcast on the following places. We were transitioning anyway, Frostbite, so you didn't start something, but like it's just yeah, let's answer this question because we're going to dive into it anyway.
All right,
so I assume from this point on, anyone who's here has seen it and is aware of what we're talking about, because we're probably going to jump about quite a bit with this, or you don't care about spoilers. So 3, 2, 1. Okay. Yeah, so literally he sent me this picture after the episode, like the end of the episode where we saw White Vision. And he's like, that dude, I bought this for Avengers thinking it was going to happen, and it didn't. Now he's here!
So, White Vision. Can you explain White Vision a bit across?
I vaguely know about White Vision.
So, so my understanding is that Vision gets killed just in the comics, just like he does in the movies. And then they kind of bring him back to life. They take him apart and they bring him back to life, but he doesn't have a soul, a quote-unquote soul. So he doesn't have the emotions. He doesn't have the memories of Vision. He doesn't basically have anything that made him Vision. He doesn't have that.
Chunk in chat going, WandaVision's out? When did it come out? Like every Friday for the last 2 months.
So like him and Wanda in the comics, they get divorced, and then slowly, piece by piece, Vision starts to regain his memories back, or starts to get them implanted again. And he starts to become the Vision.
Oh yeah, Frostbite, that was one of my favourite scenes, man. We're definitely going to talk about that for the finale. Like the Vision logic battle, that was phenomenal to watch.
Yeah.
Because the big scene that I was seeing from the comics from this, that people started posting when White Vision showed up, was literally a scene of Wanda talking to him, and Vision, kind of like what they started doing in the show. Vision had no memories.
Yeah.
He had no love for Wanda, nothing like that. He was Vision in appearance and in... Dang, I guess I should leave and watch it. Yep, absolutely. Go leave and watch it. Just make sure to leave that tab open and leave as a lurk while you're doing it, Jack.
Yes.
As long as that tab's open, you go do what you want. But yeah, so they definitely hinted heavily at that.
Yeah.
Of this not being Vision, but we'll definitely get into that. We'll get into White Vision in a minute. Let's rewind it back, because because where we left off in our last one, so we done a previous talk on the first half of this, so we pretty much got up to the introduction of Quicksilver, of Pietro, or Fietro, or Mr. Boner.
Mr. Boner. Okay, I want to go back to something that Chunk said before we start diving deep into WandaVision.
Yeah.
He was asking about, I think he's gone, but he was asking about Blade and whether it's going to be rated R or PG-13. Feige has come out and said the only movie as of right now that's going to be rated R is Deadpool. Everything else is
yes. PG-13. Right now, Deadpool's the only one that's been given the R rating, and I think that's literally because it's a continuation of the previous Deadpool movies. Everything else, as far as I'm aware, is PG-13, which is where the rest of the MCU pretty much sits. So even stuff like Blade is going to be at that rating, which I'm like...
That's a little disappointing.
Which I'm like, I think this is a perfect opportunity to start a Marvel Knights thing where you could do some of the darker stuff like that. Like Blade and Deadpool and some of the others. But then again, we're going to see a similar thing with Moon Knight as well. Like, he's on Disney Plus. And Disney Plus doesn't show things that are that rating either. Like, it's exclusively PG-13 and lower.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, so it's going to be interesting. Like, if they do it well, it's possible.
Yeah.
It is very possible. But what is it going to look like?
There's a way to do stuff without gratuitous violence and ridiculous amount of cursing. I mean, look at The Mandalorian. Everybody that I know that has seen that show loves that show. It's so well made. It's such a good story. And same with WandaVision too. Yeah. So you don't have to although I feel like Blade is in a separate category. That's who he is.
You can maybe get away with it with Blade though.
What's that?
You can maybe get away with it with Blade and still kind of keep it kind of violent. Because most of the killing is monster killing.
Yeah.
It's Blade killing monsters. Like, vampires don't technically count as people in these sorts of things. They count as monsters. So you can maybe get away with it.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
It's one of those, I think that's one of those Disney rules where, if you bend it far enough, you can just, you can get it under, and hey, that counts.
Yeah. I'm okay with it being PG-13, just like I would be okay if it was rated R. Yeah. I don't want them to sacrifice the story for a rating.
I don't want them to sacrifice, but then again, kind of like Chunk saying, PG-13 doesn't mean it can't be a great movie.
True.
Absolutely.
Jurassic Park was rated PG-13.
Yeah, everybody was screaming for Venom to be R-rated, and I'm like, I don't care what rating you put on that movie, it would not have been worthwhile.
Yeah.
Making it an R rating was not going to save that movie. Venom is not a good movie. I'll still watch it. It's a guilty pleasure, but it is not good.
That's the best line in that entire movie, Chunk.
Yes. I still watch that line in that movie,
Dude,
and it's still.
Wesley Snipes.
I watched
He's the
that
best
movie
person
in
for
the
that.
90s when it dropped, and it's 30 years later, and I still don't know if I totally understand that line.
Dude,
You can see like Stephen Dorff's face looking at him, like, what? Like
that's
just
such a
after
good
he
movie.
says that line, it's so good.
Such a good movie. Wesley Snipes was the perfect Blade.
He was.
Because like he played it straight, and then every now and then he would have just he just got to the point where he's like, I've had enough.
Yeah. Although I'm glad the guy they've got, I completely forgot his name though, but he played
Marshala Ali.
Marshall Ali, that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
he played Cottonmouth in the Luke Cage show. I'm really glad that
He's
Marvel's.
awesome.
I'm really glad
Yeah.
Marvel's keeping him around in another role
Agreed.
like this. I'm all
Yeah.
for it.
He's really good. I like
But
him a lot.
all right, let's jump into some WandaVision.
Let's do it.
So where we left off last time, we were on about episodes 5 and 6, where we had Pietro come in, Mr. Boner himself.
We're gonna, just from now on, just a heads up, we're gonna call him Pietro. All right.
Fake Pietro. Or Boner,
Or Boner.
because Boner was his last name.
Legit. We didn't make that up. If you haven't seen it yet, his last name in the show is Boner.
That's a rant in itself that we're going to get to. We really are. So, like, he showed up, so I can't remember if we
Take
touched...
the family-friendly tag off the show.
It's his name. Like, you know what I mean? It's like we can't help it. Like, that's his name.
It's true.
It's like, that's like, oh, it's not family-friendly. I'm just saying the dude's name. It's not my fault Marvel named him Boner.
Yeah, and it's on Disney Plus, so it must be okay.
Exactly. But yeah, so I can't remember if we talked about episode 6 before, like the Halloween special.
So we ended right before we ended.
Okay, so we did end it there. Okay, I couldn't remember if we'd. Yeah, that's right, because we were meant to talk about it the week before, and I was glad we didn't because Pietro was like showed up at the door. We said Boner way too many times during our podcast recording last night. Yeah,
We should have a ticky up in the top corner, just how many times we say it.
a Boner counter. Like I don't know if that's.
Yeah.
If anything's going to make us not family friendly, having a Boner counter up on screen is not going to go well. There's no way to explain that if someone just pops into
There's
stream.
no way.
That's definitely a fake name that X-Men Quicksilver would come up with. This is true. Sorry, I know this isn't WandaVision, but just the way he says that line, throws the vial in the air and kicks in to Deacon Frost's forehead.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a good movie. We do need to do a show talking about the Blade movies. We really
we
do.
can do that.
We
Yeah,
definitely need to do that at some point. Because we haven't covered those. We never covered them in our early 2000s stuff, because technically they started in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Blade. It was 98, right? Or 97?
Mm-hmm. So, like, we got them in the early 2000s, but technically they'd already started, so that's definitely one we need to do. So we'll start with the Halloween episode, which in itself, which was absolutely fantastic. Like, can I just say, like, top props to the costume department for creating, not just, we've seen Wanda and we've seen Vision, obviously in the trailers, but also Quicksilver and Tommy and Billy, all their costumes, like, hearkening to their comic book counterpart costumes, was just so good. Like, the costumes looked phenomenal. They looked so great. They were equal parts, like, comic book accurate and also fun because it was a Halloween costume.
Yeah.
And they all looked absolutely awesome. So I absolutely adored those.
Dude, I just realized that Tommy and Billy had their comic outfits on too. I don't know why I didn't catch that in the show.
Yeah, they pretty much did.
Well, besides,
what's his face? Tommy's was
he
was a little more Quicksilvery, but it was still obviously hearkening, like him getting the white hair and stuff was definitely hearkening to the comic a little. But Billy 100% was Wiccan.
Oh,
was
absolutely.
the Wiccan costume 100%.
That's
so
awesome.
The fact that they done all of those, and obviously we couldn't see Quicksilver and Tommy and Billy beforehand because they were all new reveals for the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is where stuff starts to really kick off now. Because
Vision is in full conspiracy mode. Like, he knows something's up and he's trying to figure it out.
Well, yeah, because at this point we've already seen like the whole stuff going on at his job and him getting the random email. He doesn't know who it's to, but it's something to do with Sword, and he freed that guy's mind and all this sort of stuff previously. So he's like full, like you said, conspiracy mode now. Something is going on, and basically lies to Wanda and says, "I'm going to be part of like the neighborhood watch tonight."
Mm-hmm.
And it's really funny because you can see Wanda like, you're not meant to be doing that.
Yeah.
but also doesn't want to full out question it because she's meant to be playing the part.
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of just lets him go, and Quicksilver, being the the dorky like uncle to the kids, that's the kind of like washout no good guy that doesn't have a job, just sleeps on their sofa, sort of man-child character, was perfect for kind of like 90s and 2000s sitcoms. It's like, yeah, I'll take care of the kids, and he, basically being a big kid himself, goes to do that. So Vision then says okay and heads off in his venture across Westview.
Yeah.
We get some really great moments though between Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
The one, well, we'll get to it, but the one where she like breaks bad on him. That's scary. That was scary.
Oh yeah. I mean, like we get some funny moments to start with. Like you get the moments of like him saying like that. It's like, oh, do you not remember our trick or treating in Sokovia? And it's like that literal sitcom flashback of them trick or treating and getting like a dead fish and stuff like that. And
yeah.
At the door, so you get like little connections like that. But like theirs really start to amp up when she goes out and she's talking with some of the crowd. You see like Pietro going with Billy and Tommy and basically destroying the town, stealing candy, all this sort of stuff, and she makes them put it back. But then they sit down and they have a conversation. They sit down and they talk, and it's weird because you get the feeling like he's prying, but also that he's not.
Mm-hmm.
Because like he's really like appealing to her as her brother.
Yeah.
Even though deep down she's like, you're not my brother.
Well, and he's like, where'd you hide all these kids? Where'd all these kids come from?
Yeah, like
because everybody was like trick or treating.
Yeah, because it's like, you know what, you handled it the best you could.
Yeah.
Like you brought.
He's like, I don't blame you.
It's like bringing all these kids out now for trick or treating, but like the fact that you do whatever you do with them and keep it hidden away, it's like that. It's the best option that you can do, and starts to pry a little bit of like, how did you get so powerful? Like how did you do this? And even she's like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I did this. I don't know how I pulled it off. I don't know. I just did.
Yeah.
And she starts to explain her emotional state of she felt grief and she felt emptiness and felt alone. And then like the next thing she knows, this happened. So it kind of continues what we've kind of seen already and what things have been leading to.
Mm-hmm.
While they're doing that, we get Vision's great venture out to the outskirts of Westview, where we start to see and people are there and people are doing tasks, but they're
like glitching out.
They're almost an autopilot stuck in a loop. Like you see someone hanging laundry on a washing line, but she's literally just doing the same motion, standing still.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't catch it when I first watched it. It wasn't until people started mentioning it. You seen like her doing that, and you seen like the tear running down her eye. Like deep down, like she wasn't in control and wasn't wanting to do this. Yeah, you do get that later on, Chunk, like the whole thing with the kids. Like in the finale, we get the whole thing of the mom whose mind's released. It starts to kind of like beg Wanda to let her kid come out, let her be friends with your kids, let her just be the school bully, just let me see her again.
Yeah.
Because the daughter's basically been put in to sleep in her room and locked in there, as with most of the kids,
Can I say, I know I'm jumping forward a bit, but the reality that Wanda mind controlled an entire town and then just leaves and doesn't address that was kind of infuriating.
But how do you address that though?
I don't know, like there's got to in my mind there's got to be like at least some type of acknowledgement.
But I think that's the thing though. I think she kind of acknowledges it, just not to the town though. Like
that's what I'm saying,
she acknowledges it to Monica, and I think she kind of acknowledges it in her thing. Like once everything's taken care of, she comes and speaks to Monica at the end. But she kind of says that to her, like she's like, these people did understand. She's like, no, they won't. And it's like it's literally that thing of there's literally nothing she can say that's going to make up for what took place.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in my mind, she's got to at least attempt something. I don't know what she could. I know nothing she could have said could have probably done anything
But
to those people, but I feel like she should have at least,
but
like,
that's under the assumption of her being like a hero. And I think that's the thing is like she's not gone
that's
full
true.
villain as a lot of people thought, but she's also not like Avenger level hero anymore.
Hmm.
She's like she goes to like we see at the very end she goes away from everybody,
Hmm.
and I think at least in my mind the way I took it was a case of she looked at the damage she had done, and part of it was probably her not wanting to face up to it
Hmm.
and realizing in her grief all the trouble that she'd caused, and it's like, but also a
Well,
level of there's no point.
well, and like
The
my
best
thing
thing I
is,
can do for these people is just leave.
it wasn't even the fact that she didn't acknowledge what she had done. It's when she was walking back into the town center to talk to Monica, she made eye contact with like tons of specific people that she had mind control, and it's like
Can I can I say
it was
by
almost
the can I say
it
by
was
the way,
almost
how did that mailman not be revealed as somebody?
I don't know.
They focused on him in so many episodes, like specifically giving him lines to say. I was sure he was going to be revealed to be someone. It's like,
Yeah,
no, it's just a dude. I like you had the camera holding on him for the
I
last
know.
4 episodes. How is he not anybody? Hey, look, made it. Thank you so much for popping in. I appreciate it.
But like
Uh,
I feel like when she's walking into the town center to talk to Monica and she's making eye contact with these people, it's almost as she's like, "What? What do you want?" Type. It's like that type of attitude. And I guess to your point, if she's not supposed to be the hero, then I guess that kind of makes sense. It definitely makes me like her a lot less
I think that's the thing.
as a character,
Yeah,
and then maybe that's the point.
but I think that's it though. It's like she's something kind of mentioned it in chat there. Like she's still grieving. She's still dealing with the emotions of everything, and then on top of that, now the guilt of what she did and what she's capable of.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a lot of stuff to work out. Not to mention the fact of like what we see at the end, and this again full blown spoilers for the very end of it. At the very end of the last episode, we see her in this cabin, and it looks like she's just living a secluded life at first, and then
Yeah.
we see that she's actually in the back room
A
working
la
on her
Doctor Strange.
spells, but she has the Darkhold.
Yeah.
She has the Darkhold, which I love the fact that was confirmed because that's what we were thinking that book was that Agatha had. But she has the Darkhold now, which
Yeah.
again highly hints at her going down a darker path. The Darkhold has never been associated with good,
Mm-hmm.
and even though her magic is chaos magic as it is, like her using the Darkhold kind of suggests that she's still in a very dark place. She's still in a different place from everything.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
no, and
Ross.
you go back.
Uh, so somebody had mentioned back like episode 4 or 5, maybe 3. I watch New Rockstars on YouTube. Eric Voss is a really cool guy. The way he breaks stuff down. But he was talking about how they think that Scarlet Witch might be the villain in Doctor Strange, and I was like, I don't think so. But now seeing everything that I saw in the series, I'm like, she could absolutely very well be a villain. I don't think she will be the villain. I think for part of the movie, she's going to be the major threat. But
Yeah,
I think she's not. I don't think she's going to be an overt oppressive threat. I think she's just going to be a threat that exists.
I
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, because like I let me put it this way: the way that Marvel's kind of been playing things, especially in WandaVision, is if something seems obvious, chances are they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, like everyone, like with the aerospace engineer, oh my goodness, it must be Reed Richards. Doesn't even show up. It's a random
No.
nobody.
Yeah.
Ultron's 100% going
Called
to
it.
show up in the show. Didn't show up. You
Yeah.
know, it's like if anything seems obvious, oh my goodness, that's Quicksilver from another universe. It's just Ralph Boner, the guy whose house that Agatha's been living in, and the Ralph that she's been referencing for most of the show. It's like, if it looks obvious, it looks too obvious that Wanda's going to be the villain. I
Mhm.
don't think they're going to go villain with her. I
Mhm.
do think we're on the edge of anti-hero, because I don't think she's doing stuff bad on purpose, but the fact that she's now delving into the Darkhold to try and control her magic more, the
Yeah.
fact that we heard Tommy and Billy's voices calling out,
Yeah.
and it's speculation of whether she's just flashing back to thinking of them, or if she's trying to actively bring them back.
Mhm.
what that's going to look like. I think Wanda, that's the thing I kind of love about Wanda by the end of the show. She is very possibly the most complex character in the whole of the MCU.
Yeah.
For the last 12 years, 13 years. Like, there has been no one as complex as her character. None that hit the peaks of what she's gone through, the hurts that she's gone through, the stuff that she's dealt with. And I think she's still in a process, because even when she became an Avenger, she wasn't really an Avenger. Could you really class it as a hero? She was just kind of like, I don't want to work with Ultron, so I'll help you guys. And then she went with the Avengers, like, still not really knowing what she was doing or who she was. I think this is very much a journey of her discovering herself. Like, WandaVision was all about her dealing with the grief.
Yeah.
And I think this is her in that new chapter of, like, I have these powers, what do I do with it?
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the grief aspect, I think one of the most poignant scenes for me, the one with her and Vision when they're talking on the bed is crucial. But I think the most poignant one for me is when she's, Agatha, who, again, spoilers, is revealed to be, or
it
Agnes
was Agatha
be,
all along.
Yeah. Agatha Harkness from the comics, who's the witch who's been,
the one theory where everybody went, I knew it!
Yeah.
The one theory that worked out.
Is when Wanda is standing in the middle of this empty foundation of this house that was supposed to be her and Vision's, with Vision's signature on the lease with a heart around it.
Oh, his message on that.
She just goes, like, I could feel that.
That broke my heart.
In my, chest. I'm like, holy crap, that was intense.
Elizabeth Olsen does not get enough credit for how good of a dying actress she freaking is.
She was so
like
good.
My heart, seeing that scene when she's standing there and she just drops to her knees and just unleashes this magic just out of sheer deep grief. I felt it. I was like, oh, my heart broke.
Yeah.
My heart broke for her, and I'm like, she is such a good actress.
Dude,
she's ridiculously good.
Well, even the scene with her and Vision when they're in the Avengers compound, and they're talking about her brother, and Vision goes, what is grief if not love persevering? And, like, just her little mannerisms that she's doing, just the way that she carries herself, man, she's so good.
She is. Like, I'm kind of with everybody online right now of, like, I announce a Scarlet Witch series or a Scarlet Witch movie to follow up from this. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
My theory for her is that she is going to be kind of like what Isaac said in chat. She is probably going to be the main inciting incident.
Yeah, I agree.
For Doctor Strange, I think probably even referencing Westview, and then this powerful magic user has just disappeared. Is going to get his attention. He is the Sorcerer Supreme, even though she's technically, as Agatha references, is actually stronger than he is.
Yeah.
When she's at full strength, he's the only one that's capable of it. And I think what's going to happen is she's going to start off with a threat. It'll lead into whoever the other threat is, and this will be where Doctor Strange takes Scarlet Witch under his wing.
Yeah,
and he'll be the one to start. He'll be the one to start training her.
Yeah,
on how she can properly use this, because we need to see that relationship build. If they miss out on doing that, then they're missing a massive part of the Marvel comics, which is the relationship between Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch. They are both very good friends.
Okay, I didn't know that.
They know each other. They're good friends with each other because of the magic they use. So I think he'll be the one to take her on. That she'll appear in Doctor Strange, and we could even see her appearing by his side in future installments of stuff as he starts to teach her magic and how to utilize it, but also utilize control. Because that's the one thing she's missing. She has the power, she just doesn't have the training, and the only one that can train her on that level is Strange. He's a Sorcerer Supreme. He's the only one even close to that level. So I think that's where they're going to go with her, because I don't think her redemption arc's done. I think this was getting over the grief. And there's still, her journey's still ongoing, because WandaVision, like, that was the series finale, like, WandaVision's done. But as we said, it's not the end of Wanda and Vision. Their characters are still going forward.
Do you think Vision, so just going back to Vision, because I know we kind of were talking about him earlier. So the Vision in Westview that Wanda created basically from the mind piece of the Mind Stone that was in her. She basically literally created Vision.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone. He's gone after
Yeah.
the hex. After the hex was destabilized and taken away, the kids, Billy and Tommy and Vision,
Yeah,
are
they're all gone because they made it very clear that they were part of the hex.
Yeah.
And they were so tied to that once those walls came down, they were going to be gone forever.
Mm-hmm.
And can I just say how heartbreaking that scene was?
When
Watching the hex, watching the hex coming in and realizing it was just round their house, and they tuck the kids in bed and talk about how they'll be a family forever, and then the kids are gone. And it's literally just like, and then that literal bit of just her and Vision. She turns out all the lights and then he turns one back on, and they just have that moment.
Dude.
And I'm like,
so
oh my
and
goodness.
The thing is, like, I don't know if you picked up on it, but like there was a like a what am I trying to say? Almost like a hecticness in the Vision as he felt the stuff closing in because he wanted to spend as much time as he possibly could with Wanda. He was basically like, I don't want this to end. I don't want this to end. And he was trying to ask her as many questions as he could, right at the end. But it was, man.
It was so good.
So, all right. So basically, towards the end, and we're gonna kind of bounce back and forth between the series, but we're just trying to get the overarching narrative right now. So towards the end, the Vision from Westview faces the Vision that Sword was created.
Legitimately, maybe one of my favorite parts of the end of that series is the two of them not squaring off, but literally just having a dialogue with each other.
Yeah.
As they start talking to one another, like watching them talk and process with each other was like, oh my goodness, this is actually so awesome. Like this should not be as exciting as it is watching.
So the main argument between them, or the main conversation that they were trying to have, is what does being the real Vision mean? So obviously the White Vision is made up of the Vision's parts, but the Vision in Westview is made up of the memories that actually made Vision.
Yeah.
So each of them hold a piece of what actually made Vision.
And I love the story that they told as well, like was it the Theseus?
Yeah.
And they're like, as the ship starts to break apart and things start to come apart and you replace it more and more, I'm like, how long until you can no longer call it the original Theseus? How long until it's a completely brand new thing?
It's neither and both.
It's like it's neither of them are the Theseus, but yet both of them are.
Yeah.
And just that dialogue and seeing the other Vision come along, because the whole directive was of Sword's Vision, the White Vision. I
require elaboration. I'm going to start using that phrase from now on.
Like his whole directive was to come in and destroy Wanda and destroy Vision.
Yeah.
Like, and we even get that from the get-go. Like, he's rebuilt by Sword. They use the magic off of the drone that she brought back out to, like, supercharge him, send him in. And he goes in, and the first thing he does is, like, he puts his hands on her face, and she kind of, like, is that really you? And starts trying to crush her head. Mm-hmm. And then Vision, like, attacks him. So we get this big, like, aerial fight with these two, which is just phenomenal in itself. And then as they start to have the conversation, like, the Vision from the Hex literally questions White Vision on his directive. What's your directive to destroy the Vision? It's like, well, am I the Vision? Like, am I Vision? Because I'm created out of Wanda's mind.
Yeah.
It's like...
Sorry, real quick. Locke said they did a really cool job with the cosmetics for White Vision. I agree.
He looked awesome.
They made him, like, they gave him a more angular features in his face to just give him that little menacing edge. I agree. I'm sorry, Rob. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Can I also just reference the fact of, like, Paul Bettany is a legend?
Dude.
Because his like...
He slow rolled everybody.
His hint of, like, oh, I'm going to get the chance to work with someone I've never had the opportunity to work for, this amazing cameo. And I loved his reference afterwards, was like that people kept making stuff. Is it going to be Professor X? Is it going to be Magneto? Or is it going to be someone like that popping in? And him going, oh yeah, they'd have been really good ideas. They're going to be so disappointed when they realise it's just me.
Yeah.
They realise it's just him. And like, he trolled everybody because it was Vision v Vision. I'm like, you legend.
Literally, people are hanging on by threads for a full week to watch another 30-minute episode. You cannot do that.
You legend, Paul Bettany. He was phenomenal. Bringing back Vision and then portraying, first of all, the Vision and the Hex. It was going through sitcom mode, going through the conspiracy mode, and then then playing both of them off of each other. Like, phenomenal job from Paul Bettany, man. The guy's a phenomenal actor. But like, he literally then questions White Vision of the fact of like, are either of us Vision, and using the Theseus thing of like, well, neither of us are, but we both are. And then he actually unlocks White Vision's mind because he's got all these mental blocks that Sword have put up. And he unlocks it.
Yeah. It basically gives him all the memories that he has or that he should have.
You know, so like Vision is assumed to be back.
Hopefully, man.
In some shape or form. But we never get an answer to whether he is or not, because following that, he disappears.
Yeah.
We have literally no clue what happened to the White Vision after that. Where do you think
he went? Do you think he'll show up in Doctor Strange?
I want to say no.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to show up that soon. I think there's going to be something where he shows up. I think there's definitely more to his story that we're going to get. I legitimately don't know where they're going to take him.
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to go on a bit of a personal quest at this point.
Yeah.
Because he's going to have all this stuff to work through as he now has all these memories of Vision and dying multiple times. And I think they're going to keep him and Wanda separated for the next little bit.
Yeah.
Before they bring them back. At least that's what I'm thinking. But legitimately, I don't know. Like, we get no hint of where he's going. We get into the final fight, and it's literally like, you know, Wanda and Vision and the boys against Hayward, against Agatha. Pietro's taking on Monica, and he gets dispatched quickly as she comes to help, and there's like no sign of him.
So
Chunk.
Can we... What's that?
Sorry, Chunk just saying he'll show up in Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm like, I hope not.
I would be surprised if they don't at least tease him in Doctor Strange 2, especially if a big part of Doctor Strange 2 involves Wanda going out the board. I agree. I personally think he will probably show up in Doctor Strange 2. I just don't think he'll have a gigantic part.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with that. It depends what direction they go with Doctor Strange 2.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know where they're taking it. All we really know at the moment is that he's gonna, like, Wanda's gonna show up with Doctor Strange, and that Loki and Spider-Man are also going to be tied in with it.
Okay.
That's literally it at this point.
Alright, so let's rewind it a little bit and kind of go back to the Spooktacular episode that we were talking about.
Yeah.
And let's just pick it up where... So Vision is towards the outskirts of the town, and he sees this car just chilling at a stoplight. And he goes up to the car, and it's Agnes. And he's talking to her, and she's like apparently zoned out, and he hits her with his cosmic fingers or whatever.
Yeah, and unlocks her mind, and
I forgot what she said, but he basically is trying to get out of the hex because he wants to see what's on the other side of the hex.
He's trying to get out of the hex, and she reacts kind of like the other guy did, of like that, like she's been trapped in there, and it's like tells him basically like, "Your Vision, you're one of the Avengers." He has no idea what an Avenger is, and she asks if she's dead, and he's like, "No, why would you think that? Like, because you are." Yeah. All stuff that you would think someone coming out of something like that would say. The Avengers are well known. Vision is known to be one of them. It's probably well disclosed at this time that he died. All that sort of stuff. So like and nothing is hinted at that there's anything else going on there. So she kind of like starts almost going a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
And he puts her back under, and she drives off, and it's kind of like he's questioning why she's even there, because like he says that like you're just really far away from like the center of town where you were trying to get to, and she's like, "Oh, I got lost," like in the town that you grew up in, and like it's clearly like something's not right. But she drives off, and then we get the finale of this episode where Vision tries to leave the hex.
And this is where we find out that, I mean, it kind of got hinted at, but this is where we find out that Vision cannot exist outside of the hex.
Yeah.
Like, this Vision in Westview cannot exist outside of the hex.
Yeah, he breaks out through the wall and like literally starts to come apart.
Yeah, he starts to disintegrate.
He starts
And
to
then,
disintegrate. The whole of Sword are there doing nothing, which
yeah.
then of course leads to Darcy like
Hmm.
revealing herself because her, Agent Wu, and Monica were all kicked off a base
Yeah.
by
And
Jackass Hayward. Monica and Wu like go off to find the aerospace engineer that's nobody. And Darcy, who's still trying to break through firewalls and get information, like comes out and is like, "Why aren't you helping him?"
yeah.
To which point she gets handcuffed to the front of a car because why not?
Yeah,
Um,
and Vision is on the ground saying, "You've got to help us. She's hurting people."
that blew me away. Like it's
Yes.
like no, it's not even she's hurting people. He's like you've. It's like he's like help, help, like as if he's asking for help, and then he goes, help them. There's people that
Yeah,
need
yeah.
help, and it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
this guy is literally disintegrating in front of them, and all he's doing is asking for them to help the people inside.
yeah.
I'm like, Vision is nowhere near the top of my heroes in the comics or in the MCU, and I'm like, Paul Bettany
Crushes it.
he was just phenomenal in this role. Like I care so much about Vision
Yeah.
after this
Agreed.
show, like so much more. Like he's just as phenomenal, and I find it so ironic thinking not too long ago there was all these stuff about him not continuing on after it and he was done playing the role, and I'm like,
Hmm.
and then he comes back and does stuff like this where he just knocks it out the park. He's
Yeah.
such a good actor. I loved him as an actor before he joined the MCU, but like he's such a good actor.
All right, so while he's breaking apart on the ground and he's yelling at sword agents to help people in Westview, Billy and Tommy and Pietro Boner and Wanda are in the middle of town at this like little Halloween festival, and Billy, I think it's Billy,
Yes, Billy.
so he has psychic abilities and he can hear Vision outside of the hex saying what he needs to say, and he tells his mom basically, "Hey, Dad's in trouble." So Wanda just goes berserk,
One that
and
almost kills Pietro.
yeah, she blasts Pietro in the chest because he makes a joke about her husband already being dead, so he can't die again. She hits him in the chest and like throws him back 30 feet, and then she just goes berserk and expands the hex probably like 5 times wide and taller than it was. So
Yeah,
that entire sword camp gets enveloped in the hex and turns into a circus.
which is amazing.
Which is hilarious. Which is hilarious. Um, and that's pretty much the end of that episode.
Yeah, Vision's like saved off the ground, and then everyone who was at the sword base, everyone who was trying to escape, including Darcy, who's attached to
Yeah.
the front of the car, are all engulfed into the hex. The
Yeah.
only ones escaping are like Hayward and his like little crew, and then Wu and Monica, who were already well on their way out of there, and
Yeah.
managed to avoid the outskirts. Everyone else that was sword in the area is like engulfed and brought in.
All right. So the next episode, this one is called "Breaking the Fourth Wall." So this is when stuff really starts getting revealed. What's going on?
Yeah.
The main drivers for this show are the aerospace engineer, which a lot of people thought was Reed Richards, trying to get
It's not even a character from the comics. I literally I googled the name. She's a nobody. Like
yeah.
it's like it was a no one. I'm like, wow, everyone just heard I know someone that's an aerospace engineer, and that's literally all she'd said, and
Yeah.
everyone went nuts of it being Reed Richards or Blue Marvel, and it's like, it was neither.
So there's already hints of Monica having some sort of power after going in and out of the hex multiple times. But her main goal in this episode is to try to get back into the hex in this armored car that her aerospace engineer has designed, so she can get through all the different types of radiation that the hex is putting off.
Yeah.
At the same time, inside the hex, Wanda is just having one of those days, and she basically Agatha agrees to babysit the kids for the day, so Wanda can just have a chill.
Yeah, Wanda kind of starts to lose it that day.
Yeah, just a bit.
Like the day after, it turns, is it Arrested Development? It was
Like a Modern Family type thing.
Modern Family, like yeah, I'm not sure exactly what show it was talking, but it's like they're very much them sitting talking to the camera.
Definitely an Office vibe too.
Definitely Office vibe, but I heard people referencing literal sitcoms that done it. I've not seen them, so I can't say for sure.
I haven't seen Modern Family either.
But like there was her, like a big part of it was Wanda talking to the camera, saying how she was doing. Like the day after, like the night before, was she is just gone. She is. Even to the boys, she's like totally red. Like, I don't have a clue. I don't know what's going on. And like the concern in their face, and Agatha, or Agnes as she is at the time, comes, takes the boys, and they go away. And Wanda basically is like, okay, I'm just gonna rest. And as stuff around the house starts to glitch, like she's starting to lose control of her power. So like the TV changes from like modern day to like 1950s, 1970s, and stuff just starts kind of glitching. So she's clearly not fully in control. While that's going on, Vision wakes up and is now at a circus that used to be a sword base.
And he sees Darcy tied up to a truck, like one of those ladies who try to get out of chains in the circus.
Oh yeah, she's like an
escape artist.
Yeah, she's an escape artist, which I thought was kind of cool because like she was handcuffed, so she's an escape artist. Like, that's actually really smart.
Yeah.
And like almost, I love the fact of like he spends like maybe 5 minutes trying to explain to her the thing, and she's like just thinks he's a random dude hitting on her, and then he just finally like hits her mind, and I'm like, why wouldn't you do that right away?
I know.
You know that she's with sword. You've seen her outside the hex. Yeah. Why wouldn't you just do that right away? But zaps her mind, and she wakes up, and he's got someone who's not under control and isn't like a tortured soul that's been captured, but actually knows what's going on. So he actually has some help. So the two of them like steal a car or a truck, I think it is, from there, and take off. And very quickly find that Wanda is trying to block them.
Yeah.
As they end up getting to an intersection that keeps getting blocked by like children.
And then workers
crossing the street, like 50 million children that are going from nowhere to nowhere because there's literally no buildings around. So like, where the heck are they going? And then like workers come in and right in front of them and start working on the lights and stuff. And I do love the little hint where it's like Vision sitting outside the car talking to the camera as well.
Yeah.
And he gets that moment like, what am I doing? Why am I talking?
Yeah, he's
just taking the mic off, hitting the boom mic out the road, and like, and you see him take off from the car and fly up, and Darcy's like, okay, I'll see you there then.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
That moment of like where Vision's like, hey, I can fly.
So I just going back to so there's two things happening simultaneously. So Monica's trying to get inside the hex in this vehicle, and then Wanda is on her way to Agatha's house to pick up the kids. So Wanda I think she knocks on the door. I can't remember what happens, but she actually goes in Agatha's house.
No, that's not till the end. That comes at the very end.
Okay.
The next thing that comes up is the Monica thing. So she gets like done up in her suit, like a big space suit, and gets the big armored vehicle, and basically takes off at the hex, and smacks right into it. And the readings that they're getting is this thing is matching the density of the car to keep her out. Whereas like before when she touched it, she'd been sucked through. Like it's meeting the density of this truck trying to stop it. And as she like starts to like push it, the car hits and then starts to go up.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it starts to go through slowly and starts to transform. So she has to like climb out the roof of this thing and jump out.
Yeah.
And this thing gets launched backwards and is now like front half of a pickup truck and back half of whatever the heck it was before.
Yeah.
So Monica gets the idea of like, I can make it. And takes off.
Yeah, you see the look. Thing. She looks at Sword, and then she looks back at the hex, and she does it.
And Wu's like trying to stop her, like trying to talk her out of this, and she just takes off straight into it. And we get the whole big thing of her, all the memories and stuff processing. But when she comes out the other end, she now has her powers. She is Photon.
Yeah.
She doesn't have her code name, doesn't have anything like that, but she has the powers that will lead to her being Photon.
I don't really get her power set. So when she passed through the hex and she's in Westview, she can see all the different types of energy. She can see it with her eyes. Is that her ability?
She can see and she can manipulate energy fields, I believe, is her powers.
Okay.
So what you see her when she comes through there is her reading the different energy that's like radiating off of stuff, and the different like the electricity coming off the electrical cables and stuff, and she can read that energy. and she can manipulate it. That's why when you see like Wanda trying to control her and slam her, like she's able to like manipulate and stop that and do like the superhero landing, to stop herself getting injured. But like, so she takes off now that she's inside and goes to Wanda's house to talk to her. Wanda completely thrown by this because like, I got rid of you already. Why are you here?
Yeah.
And tries to talk to her about real life stuff and tries to tell her like Hayward's coming in. He's going to come in and try and take you, basically.
Yeah.
And Wanda does not want to hear it. Lifts her up outside. Everyone outside just stops and is just staring.
Yeah.
And as she's like threatening her, she goes to slam her down, and like Monica does a landing and stands up. While all this is going on, you see Agnes looking out of her house and comes on over and basically tells her that she's overstayed her welcome. It's time for her to go, and walks Wanda away over to her house.
Yeah.
They go in, sits her down. She starts looking around the creepy house.
Really creepy old lady house.
Oh yeah, we actually went back to the house earlier. At a point, we see the boys with her.
Yeah.
And like holding the pet rabbit she's got and stuff. And then Billy says to her he likes it in the house because it's quiet. Like he can't hear thoughts in here.
Yeah.
And he even says that she's quiet on the inside. And then when Wanda gets in there, she's like, "Where are the boys?"
Yeah.
She just, they might be playing in the basement. And she goes down into the basement, starts to look around. The creepiest looking basement you have ever seen in your life.
Super overgrown with these just gigantic vines.
And sees a book sitting on the table, a book that we'll later find out is the Darkhold, basically the Book of the Damned.
Yeah, that's glowing.
Yeah. And she reveals herself. She comes down and reveals that she's Agatha Harkness. She's a magic user as well, and then blasts like Wanda with her powers.
Yep.
And we get the internet's favourite new song. It was Agatha all along.
Dude, I heard a trap version of that song. It was really sweet.
It's such a good song, and realizing she's been behind everything, like bringing in the fake Pietro. She's the one that's been controlling him, manipulating stuff in the first few episodes to go wrong. She's the one that's been controlling it. Even when
that's my question. So, how much was Wanda actually controlling what was going on in the Hex versus Agatha Harkness?
Oh, I think
or was Agatha Harkness just manipulating certain aspects of what Wanda was already doing?
Oh, she was just manipulating certain aspects because she kind of references that to Wanda, like the fact that Wanda's put on this hex. That's what drew Agatha here.
Yeah.
Agatha wasn't there in the beginning. She wasn't in Westview when it happened. She sensed the level of power.
Yeah.
And that's what drew her there. So everything that's taking place in there is Wanda. She just manipulates certain things.
So do you? I don't know if the show answered this for me as good as it could have. But do you think Wanda was in 100% complete control and knew everything that was going on in Westview, like with what she was doing to people and manipulating stuff, or do you think some of that was out of her control?
I think most of it was her control. Kind of like when she talks to Pietro, when she's kind of talking to him and she kind of references like, "I don't know how I did this."
Yeah.
I think there's a definite aspect of it. She's not entirely sure how she's pulling it all off.
Yeah.
But I think it is her. I don't think it's Agatha's like influence or anything like that. I think she's been manipulating certain situations, causing stuff to happen. Like she was manipulating stuff at the start a little bit, and then bringing in Pietro, and then she's obviously like, we see Wanda talking, and the person behind the camera talks to her, and she's kind of shocked, like, who's talking? You're not meant to be able to talk, and it turns out it's Agatha.
Yeah.
Little things like that, I think she's able to influence, but I think for the most part, it was Wanda. Because, like, I think mostly at the beginning, Agatha was just observing.
Yeah.
She was observing what's going on, because her whole goal was to get the power from her. Her whole goal was to take that power away for herself. But so we get that hint of she's been there all along, and then that episode actually wraps up with the first mid-credit scene of the series, like 7 episodes deep, and it's Monica, looking around the house, basically trying to see if there's a way in. Finds an access to the basement from the outside. Opens it up, and then
Mr. Boner pops up.
Mr. Boner appears.
No
What is it?
pun
What is it
intended.
he says?
He says Snooper's gonna snoop.
Snooper's gonna snoop. That's it. Like Snooper's gonna snoop, and I'm like, wow, they're just trying to make you as unlikable as they can now. Right,
Yeah.
coming up to the reveal of who you are, and that cuts to black.
Yeah.
So everything now starts to come out. Like this is like the last 2 episodes. They basically unleash everything.
I think one important thing. So one important thing from that episode is towards the end when Wanda tries to do magic against Agatha Harkness in the basement, and she
Yeah.
can't. And then Agatha points all around the ceiling. There's all these runes that she has cast on the ceiling to protect her,
Yeah.
and to only allow her, the person who cast the runes, to do magic in this area.
Which I love that she even references that to her when she's like, it's like, you don't even know that.
Yeah.
Like casting, like that's basic level magic, casting runes so that you're the only magic user that can use magic in an area.
Yeah.
And she's like, you don't even know that. And it's like that sets up the hint of the fact of how powerful Wanda is, but like yet she has no training in it.
Yeah.
Like is that thing of like if she had training, she would literally be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, but she's only like, I don't know, guess at part power because she can't properly direct this stuff. It's not just manipulation. But yeah, so the last episodes are where things start to get a lot interesting.
Yeah. So we flash back in the episode, second to last episode, we flash way back to the Salem witch trials. Although, the Salem witch trials being there, these witches are holding a trial against Agatha Harkness.
That was a really cool twist that I didn't see because
Yeah.
like she's taken to like the stake to be burned. It looks like,
Yeah.
and you think, she's getting accused of being a witch. Which, if you know Agatha Harkness from the comics, that's what she was. She was a witch round about the Salem witch trial era.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, that's cool. So that's going to be her thing of like where she's getting called up here, and then you realize they're all witches.
Yeah.
And she's getting hauled up by witches, which is like just nuts.
What was it? They were saying they were accusing her of using power above her station, basically using magic that she should not have been using.
Yeah, that she should not and was not capable of using.
Yeah.
Properly. I don't even know what they tried to do to her. Like if they're trying to because they all start flowing their magic into her. It's like
they were just trying to kill her.
Just trying to kill her at the stake. I don't know if they were trying to do something specific, and then very quickly it changes.
Yeah.
And it's like they've locked onto her and they can't let go, and she drains all of them.
Yeah.
And literally, which for a Disney Plus show, they don't hold back on the fact she literally drains the life force out these witches and they turn to skeletons.
Yeah, it's like Shang Tsung, like fatality style.
Yeah, it's like she literally drains everything out. Oh, and that was the other thing, like the head witch that's accusing her of this stuff was her mother. It was her mom that was accusing her of it, and that's the last one she takes out. And
one thing that I think is going to be referenced again later on regarding the witches is when her mom was blasting Agatha with all of her power, you saw a crown of like light or magic light appear on her mom's head. So her mom was a high level witch. And the same thing happens with Wanda later on in the show.
Yeah, it was very
it's
very reminiscent of the crown that she ends up getting, which obviously is referenced in the Halloween episode in that costume, but it turns out like it's not just like a soothsayer sort of outfit, like it's an actual crown that the witches seem to get.
Yeah.
So like she's obviously wearing it, which seems to indicate a very high level witch. Although I'm intrigued at the fact that Agatha doesn't really have that, even though she seems to be a very high level witch, higher than the ones that are trying to, burn her at the stake or whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that's a factor in something as well, like the fact that she's this powerful but she's not pure or something, like she's not doing the pure magic or something, which I found that intriguing. Not a massive plot point or anything, but just something that caught my attention. But we then crash back to where we were in the basement. And Agatha basically tells her, well, you've been doing your own reruns, let's watch some real reruns.
Yeah.
And it literally creates a magic door to step into Wanda's past.
With the entire goal of trying to figure out how Wanda has done what she's done.
Yeah, how are you this powerful? How are you pulling this off? And how can I
Yeah.
get it from you?
Exactly.
So we start to do some cool flashbacks of stuff. I think something like this is where people thought we were going to see like an Ultron appearance or something, was because of this.
Okay.
Or at least if they were going to do it, this would have been the place to do it, like doing the flashbacks. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad they went a different route with it. We get the flashback, obviously, to her as a little girl, which was cool because we've never really seen her as a kid in Sokovia.
Yeah.
There's been hints at it when she talked about her backstory previously,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that like her parents were killed, and her and Pietro like literally spent days looking at this Stark Industries bomb right in front of them, praying that it wouldn't go off. Yeah, look, that's it. Essentially, this becomes a retcon of what's came before.
Yeah.
But I love the way that they retcon stuff in the MCU, and that's how smart they are with this, because they retcon it like this was always the plan.
Yeah.
And it's like it clearly wasn't, but I love the fact they retcon it like that. Yeah, we intend to do this the whole time.
One cool, like, it was kind of like a full circle type thing that I think the flashbacks kind of addressed is, so they are very much in like a Cold War Russia-esque environment where there's wars all around, like there's tons of contraband that families bring into their house.
Oh yeah, there's war like
American
literally
movies,
outside
American
the window
TV
and
shows.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very much like that in Sokovia. And one of the nights, her dad comes in with a briefcase, and he opens it up, and it's full of like American sitcoms from all different time periods.
Yeah, literally all
And
the
you're
stuff
like,
that they've referenced, like the Dick
oh,
Van Dyke Show, I Love
yeah,
Lucy, Bewitched, Malcolm in the Middle,
yes,
Modern Family. All these things that we've seen referenced throughout the show so far in terms of like eras that we've jumped is so cool to see. Like, oh well, this is where it came from. Our dad had
yeah,
these, and that's
exactly.
where this love and this love for our family, this warm feeling for her, is where she was drawn back to. So it's very cool.
Yeah. So she takes her through there, and they're watching one of the Dick Van Dyke episodes, and it's all peaceful. The dad and mom are sitting behind her and Pietro on the floor, and they're just watching. And then all of a sudden, an explosion happens, and you see Pietro and Wanda staring face to face with the Stark bomb.
Yeah.
And then you see this little 10-year-old girl, however old she is, basically magic the bomb not to explode with her hand. Now, they don't explicitly show it. I think it's more implied that
it's more
she
implied,
does it.
yeah. I think it's more implied because Wanda herself starts to reference, like when they're watching it, she starts to reference the fact that like we waited there for this bomb to go off and it didn't explode, and it's Agatha that starts to reveal to her, it's like, no, you made it not explode.
Yeah, you use a probability hex.
Yeah, it's like you willed it not to explode by using a hex on it.
Yeah.
You stopped it from blowing up, and she's like, no, I couldn't have. And it's like just really hinting at that this level of power has been in her since she was a kid. She just didn't even know it. Yeah, and then Agatha yanks it out from under the bed and switches scenes. Yeah, switches viewpoints, not scene. But yeah, it's so cool, just that retcon of like because that's what was referenced in Age of Ultron. They literally even use kind of that scene and footage and recreate that of like the scene of them looking at this bomb, waiting for it to explode, and just Agatha saying to her like, "No, you're the reason it didn't blow up.
Yeah,
you saved your brother and yourself. You stopped it from happening." And that's when we start to get the hint of like she didn't receive her powers from the Mind Stone.
Yeah.
And that's when we start to find out that's kind of what this whole episode is a retcon. Looking at Wanda's life and the fact that these powers have always been there. But we then jump forward from there. Yeah, this begs a major question for me though, of the origin of Pietro's powers. Yeah, that's the other thing with it, Locke. Did Pietro still get his speed powers from the Mind Stone, or was there something in there that was amplified too?
Yeah.
You know, like maybe he was a mutant.
Yeah, I still think it's the mutant gene is dormant. It's gonna have to be like made to come alive by an inciting incident that has something to do with the Mind Stone.
Yeah, something's going to have to happen with that. But yeah, so then we flash forward to actually after the events of Age of Ultron and in the Avengers Mansion. And we get honestly such a powerful and beautiful scene.
Yeah.
Literally nothing really happens except Division comes in and the two of them sit and talk. And it legitimately may be one of my favourite scenes in the movie, and it has the quote that everyone is quoting for this show.
Yeah.
That everyone is talking about, what is grief if not love persevering?
Yeah.
Which, when Vision said that quote in itself blew my mind. And he's referencing it obviously in reference to the death of Quicksilver, because this is taking place after Age of Ultron and he's just died.
Yeah.
Not getting into that rant today. How did you shoot a speedster? That's no. Thank you, Joss Whedon. But
I'm telling you, man, he screws up everything.
But it's this beautiful connection just forming, and I love this because we've literally, before this show, we have only ever seen clippets of the Wanda and Vision romance. Like, we've never got to see anything in the Age of Ultron. We got to see a little bit in Civil War with them kind of in the kitchen talking to each other and stuff like that. We get to see a little bit in Infinity War when they're in Edinburgh and kind of on the run, spending time together. And stuff like that. We get to see elements of it, but it's so cool to kind of have them go back and start showing this relationship building, that there's always some connection being there between them.
Yeah, I didn't really, I'll be straight up, I didn't really buy Wanda and Vision's romance in Civil War or, the Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. I did, all right, so when she has to kill him, that was that was hardcore. But I mean, just their banter back and forth, I didn't really buy it until this show. Until the last several episodes, I'm like, I get it. I buy it. I'm 100% in. I get it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is we didn't get a lot of it before, but there wasn't time to build it up in the midst of everything going on, and that's half the issue with characters like that, where they don't have their own, Vision and Wanda were never given their own movies like Captain America and Iron Man and Thor. They were literally introduced in an Avengers movie. They were literally introduced and they've only showed up in movies with multiple characters. There's only elements of them, Oh yeah, new best couple in the MCU, absolutely. And I have got to give full credit again, props to the acting of Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen. The chemistry between the two of them is phenomenal. The two of them they play that on-screen romance so well, but they made me buy it, not in the sense of this was they're so in love with each other, but I legitimately in this show bought them as a couple that has been together for a long time.
Agreed.
This is a couple that isn't in a new relationship. This is a couple who have been together for a while and are dedicating themselves to each other. It felt real. And their acting chemistry of making that feel real is a chemistry that a lot of people cannot replicate. A lot of movies and shows do not replicate it as well as the two of them did. I don't think I was totally taken in with it. These two cared for each other.
I think that literally the last scene of the last episode was what really nailed it home for me. When he has an urgency in his voice to want to spend as much time with her as possible, though he knows he can't. Time is running out.
Yeah, he knows it's ending.
Yeah, and that it's the first time I don't know if it's the first time they've shown them kiss on camera before, but you could definitely feel that connection, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I'm in.
Yeah, at the end of this one, I was honestly I'm heartbroken for them. I feel their love. I feel their desire for each other. I feel their want to be together. And her acting and her grief acting was just superb. Agreed. I felt Wanda's pain, and I'm top props to both of them for the roles that they played in this. Those two, and then Catherine Hahn as Agatha. The three of them, how good the three of them were in their roles, just cannot be overstated enough.
Dude, one thing just to get a little less serious, can we give a shout out to Catherine Hahn's witch laugh? I mean, that was next level, like old school, like toil, boil, and trouble, whatever, like
Can we
cauldron, like laugh. It was awesome.
can we give a shout out to her in general, like how well she played each aspect of it?
Yes.
Like playing the nosy neighbor, Agnes, and
Dude.
like the complete playing into the era that she was from, and that stupid yes, come over here, oh, and my husband Ralph, and
Yeah.
all that stupidity, and then the fact of like that was like it was made more menacing when she revealed she was Agatha,
Mhm.
but it was still her, and she
Yeah.
still carried like, almost this comedic element to it a little bit,
Yeah.
and like she was just phenomenal. And can I just say we got the perfect ending for her? The
Yeah,
fact
because
that
she's still here. She's still around.
Wanda turned her literally into Agnes, trapped her in that nosy neighbour character,
Hmm.
left her there, heavily hinting at, like, we might not have seen the last of Agatha Harkness.
Yeah.
There's a good chance she's going to show up again,
Yeah.
you know? But at the same time, it's also kind of that ending that I love of, like, I think I love it when they do that with people. They get so inventive with what they're doing. Like a finale to a character like that, not just a like, oh, kill them off, but I've always loved when people are inventive and think of these almost like these horrible ways to finish someone.
Hmm.
It's like, is it worse than death? Like, and leaving her trapped, this powerful witch who tried to take over and take Wanda's power, possibly trapped as Agnes
Hmm.
for the rest of her life. I'm like, but she is just so good. Like, they have
Yeah.
to bring her back. She was so awesome.
So, so just going back to the episode, because we still have a whole nother episode we got to get to the finale.
Yeah.
So one of the last flashbacks that Agatha takes her to are when she's at von Strucker's facility, the Hydra facility, getting experimented on by the Mind Stone, and you see the session where she actually comes into the room for the first time and sees the Mind Stone. The Mind Stone somehow almost like recognizes her and blows open to, because it's the blue stone, right? So it blows open to reveal the yellow Mind Stone. She
Mm-hmm.
has this like mind connection with it and sees the silhouette of this figure who we later find out is the Scarlet Witch. And then, they try to replay the footage because they're recording the session. Hydra's recording the session, and they try to replay the footage, and it's edited out, just like some of the WandaVision
Mm-hmm.
episodes when Wu and Darcy are trying to watch it. There's a segment that's missing, and it's that segment where she came in contact with the Mind Stone. And then we kind of come back to Agatha's basement, and she's like, oh, wait a minute, is that right? We come back to the basement, and she's basically telling her, like, that's the Scarlet Witch. Like, you've had powers ever since you were little. Like, those are the powers of the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. So there's a whole chapter in the Darkhold devoted to the Scarlet Witch, devoted to
Yeah.
you. And it's like I mean, that vision as well, when she sees like the yellow and just sees the shadow of clearly like her in the Scarlet Witch gear that she ends up
Mm-hmm.
wearing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's just such a cool like premonition of like, this is what's coming.
Oh, I meant to. All right, so there is another flashback or two. So the other flashback is when she actually goes to the sword facility to get Vision.
Mm.
This is after Infinity War, when he's had the
Oh.
stone ripped out of his head, and this is where you kind of figure out that Hayward is just a big freaking jerk. All right, so
Oh my goodness.
he's basically his entire mo is he's trying to goad Wanda into bringing Vision back to life. That's he's trying to manipulate her into bringing him back to life. So he shows her sword just desecrating Vision's body. Like, they have him pulled apart in pieces. They have like grinders on him, and like he's showing her this, hoping that it will, like, something in her will click, and she'll just like bring him back to life. So she gets mad. She explodes the glass, floats down to his body, and she does her little finger wiggly thing, and says, "I can't feel you."
Yeah.
And then she just leaves.
Which is a reference to like all the times before she says that, I can just see you, I just feel
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
in reference to her connection to him, and it's like, and that's just so heartbreaking, and that's what obviously leads to the scene of her going to the plot of land at Westview and starting this whole thing.
Yeah. So she bounces because she said, I just want to bury him. And he's like, I'm not letting you bury like billions of dollars worth of vibranium. It's just not going to happen. So she bounces. And then she drives. This is when she actually drives to Westview. You see her enter into Westview in her car. She pulls up to this it's just a cinder block foundation of a house, overgrown. She goes to the middle of the foundation and she pulls out this piece of paper and she looks at it and you can see it's a deed. So she has just come from seeing visions, just pulled apart body. He's gone forever, and she's trying to come to terms with that. She looks at the deed. It has a love note from him with a heart around it, saying how they want to grow old together in this house, and that's the inciting incident that causes the hex. Causes the whole WandaVision show. You see the hex burst out of her, and as it moves through the town, you see it changing everything to that Dick Van Dyke black and white show that we started off with. Mm-hmm. And then we head back into the house. She is in her 50s get up, and you see coming out of her body Vision forming.
Yeah.
So she's legitimately creating Vision in the hex from her memories. In a physical form.
Absolutely, and you see her then almost just take on that role, that she turns herself into that black and white and takes on the housewife role that she plays in that first episode and just kind of loses herself to the illusion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like, it's just so awesome to see. Time's running a bit short, so let's jump straight into the last episode.
Yeah,
this is where everything kind of happens.
So at the very end of episode 8, I'm sorry, and then we'll jump in. At the very end of episode 8, this is where she legitimately drops Scarlet Witch. She's like, "You're the Scarlet Witch."
Yeah,
she literally says, "You are the Scarlet Witch."
Yeah, she's got the kids like on the street with like stuff tied, like magic, like nooses tied around their necks, holding them, and says and drops the name that she is the Scarlet Witch.
And then there's a post-credit scene in this one, and it shows they've actually been able to bring the Vision's body back to life, the real Vision that got killed by Thanos, back to life, using the energy from the drone that they sent into Westview, and he is now revealed to be White Vision. All right, so there we go. So we're caught up.
All right, and just to carry on the chat as well, Frostbite was saying he says, I may or may not have pre-ordered the White Vision Funko Pop, which I'm
I saw that. It looks sweet.
I saw that, and I literally almost put in a pre-order for that and the Agatha Harkness one.
Yeah.
Because I thought they'd be really cool giveaways to do, and I almost did. I don't have the cash to do it now, otherwise I would have. And then everyone else just saying her laugh was perfect, like Agatha all along, getting played on repeat now. And Isaac saying he's sure she'll come back. And then Stu the Sparky, you know the difference between us. You did this on purpose. Yeah, just so good. Such an awesome quote. And as we head into this last episode, then this is like the fights just go crazy in this one.
Yeah, and we've kind of touched on a lot of this episode.
Yeah, so we won't really go. I don't think we really need to go linear on this one. We'll just kind of hit on everything again because we've already kind of discussed a lot of this stuff. We've been jumping about a fair bit.
All right, one big disappointment that I had with this episode that I didn't realize until after I'd kind of had some time to think about it. Like, this whole show built up Sword to be this just monolithic, just titan of just technology and military might. And, you know, they build it up to where there's going to be this huge confrontation between Wanda and Sword, the military, whatever, at the end. And that really just kind of fizzled out. It was like nothing. Hayward got hit by Darcy in a truck, and that was pretty much it. I mean, other than the few... The interaction between Tommy and Billy and the people holding the guns, that was sweet.
Sword never really did anything, but then again, we didn't have a lot of Sword agents left at the end. Most of the Sword stuff we'd seen turned into the circus.
Yeah.
But I think the whole point of this show was mostly to show what Sword was, and I mean, and we kind of get it hinted at the end of like maybe Hayward wasn't the only person in charge of Sword.
Yeah.
As they get Monica's little end credit scene almost. When she gets pulled aside by the FBI and it turns out it's a Skrull.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And she's like, a friend of your mom's wants to see you. And she's like, well, where is he? Who's she referencing?
Nick Fury.
Big Money, Nick Fury.
Yeah.
Big Money is it's Nick Fury because what other characters do we know are friends of her mom's? And she specifically says a he, so like chances are, like, yeah, it's Fury. And think about it, that's where else has Fury been at this point? Because in Far From Home, like we saw
No,
Nick
they show him
Fury.
on the spaceship.
It's like, well, that's the thing, they show him in Far From Home, but the one in Far From Home isn't Nick Fury, it's a Skrull.
Well, they show him in the after credits scene in I think it's in Far From Home where he's on the spaceship.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
I need to go back and check
so
that.
he's chilling. He looks like he's chilling at a beach. He's got his feet up on a chair, and then he gets up. He starts to walk away, and you realize he's actually in a facility. And then the more it pans out, the more you realize, the facility is floating in space.
Yeah, so it does. It's been forever since I watched Far From Home. I'm like, forgot all about that. But so Isaac's even saying at the end there, like, things that kind of fizzled out were Sword, Quicksilver, and Monica. The thing is, though, Sword and Monica fizzling out has not been major things for the end of this show. Kind of like what we've talked about already with Wanda and Vision, is this was the setup of the next chapter for them. I think this was an introduction of like Monica with powers and Sword as a thing. Now that S.H.I.E.L.D. is gone, like Sword is a now big organization, because it makes sense after you've dealt with someone like Thanos. We need a defense out there in space.
One thing that they kind of set up in the show that I think they kind of made a big deal that was never ever touched upon was, why was Wu going to Westview in the first place?
Yeah, he was looking for a missing person, but we never find out about that. But then again, maybe I do wonder if like maybe we'll see something, because I don't think we've seen, because like Monica's definitely going to be appearing. Chances are we're going to see her, and we're going to see Sword as part of at the very least, the Secret Invasion series, because Nick Fury's going to be in that. They've already talked about, so chances are we'll see that. But like we don't know what's happening with Wu and Darcy. And my honest thing is, I don't think we've seen the end of them. There's a good possibility, like, they were both working alongside Sword, so I could honestly see somebody like Nick Fury bringing them on board.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like, yeah, you've done a pretty good job. You can work with us, you know?
Yeah. I was really happy with what they did with Darcy in this compared to how she was played in the Thor movies.
Oh, 100%.
I think they did a really good job of, like, changing her character and make her, like, seem more intelligent. No offense or anything.
Oh, yeah, like, she was awful in the Thor movies. Like, to the point of, like, when she first showed up in this show, I was like, oh, no.
Yeah, me too.
And it's like, but she was an amazing character in this. But that's the thing, though. See, anything that wasn't fully done in this show, I think this show was done on purpose. I think, more than ever, this was chapter 1 of a phase.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, because we've seen it, and I think it's slightly different than before. We've had the first 3 phases, which were all set up a certain way, and as we went on, everything started to get more and more connected.
Mm-hmm.
I think the difference now is that we're coming into phase 4. Everything is connected.
Yeah.
And we're at the point now, like, how do you make things different than what they were before?
Mm-hmm.
There isn't hey, there's this story here, and then there's this story here, and then they'll kind of cross over here. It's like, no, everything is like, if you're following Marvel at this point, you're following the whole story. There are very few people, like, if you're interested in Marvel at this point, you've watched them all.
Pretty much everything is happening simultaneously.
It's like, you're not, there's very few people at this point coming in going, oh, I've never watched Marvel, what's it all about? Can I just watch this show on its own? It's like, they're now banking on, you watch one, you're watching them all. Yeah. And if you're doing that, it's like, this was chapter 1. This was 9 episodes, each of them ranging from 30 to like 45, 50 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
This was 100% a chapter 1. It's like, this wasn't meant to be Monica's story. This was a setting up for Monica's story. This wasn't meant to be the reveal of Sword. This was hey, Sword's a thing.
Yeah.
This wasn't meant to be what happens with Wu and Darcy. This wasn't meant to be any of that stuff. This wasn't a setup for Fantastic Four. This wasn't all these things. This was about Wanda and Vision following Endgame. And Wanda dealing with her grief, that when that snap was reversed, which we got to see, which was awesome, everyone got to get their loved ones back that they'd lost, except her. Vision was still dead.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, the government organisation who had taken control of him were trying to revive him and turn him into a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And weren't going to let her bury him, and weren't going to let her move on. That was the story. It's just that in Marvel, when you're telling a story like that now, there's all these other stories that are interconnected.
Isaac in chat said it kind of reminded me of Lost. They were trying to throw us off the scent so much that they created questions that never got answered. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I
Isaac.
can definitely see that. I will say that, like, some of these stories I do think we're going to get answers to, but this was a setup for them.
Mm-hmm.
There are other stuff that was 100% set up that we were never meant to get an answer for,
Yeah.
because it was never meant to be a real question.
Yeah.
There was so many red herrings.
Yeah, I agree.
And setups for stuff that was never going to go anywhere. But some of the stuff I think we are. Like Monica, we definitely are. Sword definitely are. We're going to get the basically set up. They're coming with their own stuff. We saw the end with Wanda in the Darkhold, and she's reaching out to get her kids. Heart and her now in her full Scarlet Witch attire, which looks amazing, by the way.
Agreed.
Looks
Yeah.
phenomenal. I'm glad we're getting more. I really do like Elizabeth Olsen playing that character. Like, I'm really glad we're getting more of
And
her.
I thought it was a cool way that they did it. Like, you know how Doctor Strange and Thor, when they are just chilling, and then when they are preparing for battle, and they turn into themselves, like Doctor Strange's cape comes on, and his costume comes on, and then Thor's stuff comes on, just like that. Scarlet Witch, her outfit just appears. Dude,
and
I
absolutely Frostbite. Definitely waiting for a pop with that new outfit, the new Scarlet Witch one. It looks amazing. Like, it looks so good. But we got the setups for stuff that we needed in this one, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it did its job of telling us what was coming next for that, but also to get us hyped for what was to come. I am so hyped for the future of the MCU right now.
Agreed.
I'm so hyped for how things are going to tie in together. Like, this ties into Loki, into Doctor Strange, into Spider-Man with all the multiversal stuff. I'm excited to see the stuff that's going to probably cross over with Secret Invasion. I'm so excited to see where some of these other stuff connect, and if they do. And if some of them don't connect anywhere, and it's like, well, it's just a hint that there's this bigger world of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel has created this massive world that is not going to be competed with at this point. Like, there's no, even if someone successfully got a cinematic universe off the ground, it's never going to be the level Marvel's at.
But Zack Snyder's Justice League is coming out in a week and a half, though.
So it is, yeah. And can we all just come to an agreement when that comes out and we review it, regardless of how good or bad it is, we can all move on with our freaking lives, please. Like, Zack Snyder Cut people, I appreciate your determination. Thank you for pushing it and getting it to come out. I'm sure it's going to be phenomenal. Can we move on now? Because they're not going to continue following this. They're not.
I don't know, man.
The DCEU, can we just accept it's dead and just keep them doing the movies at work? Because, like,
my personal opinion, I think if this does well enough, if the response to this is on a level to where they deem appropriate, I legitimately feel that they're going to green light some more DCU stuff. Yeah. And by green light, I mean like another Justice League movie. Oh yeah,
but they can't. But they can't. They're recasting Superman now. Superman's going to be a black dude.
I don't know if they're recasting him. I think they're just going to have another Superman.
Dude, if they were going to do another movie with Henry Cavill, they'd have done it at this point.
Yeah, I don't understand what their hesitancy is.
The dude has been desperate to play Superman again. And they basically went, no. They wouldn't even let him be at the end of Shazam. That cameo at the end of Shazam was literally meant to be Henry Cavill, and they wouldn't let him do it. I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Alright, sorry. That was me digressing. All right,
trust me, in 2 weeks' time, we're going to be reviewing this. We're watching Justice League, so in 2 Sundays' time, we're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
So it's like, we'll get all of this out then.
Yeah.
We're going to dive into all of that stuff then.
One cool thing that happened in the last episode. So towards the end of the episode, obviously Vision and Vision are doing their thing. Vision Squared, they're doing their thing, their Theseus thing.
Yeah, and such a cool thing. I love the fact it started as a fight, by the way, and it evolved to the logic and talking it through. And I'm like, that was so smart. I love the fact they didn't just go full-blown action scene with it, and they actually were smart with it. The Vision realized he could reason with himself.
So Wanda and Agatha are blasting each other, and you can see as Wanda is throwing magic at Agatha, she's like decaying. Like you can see her hand is starting to turn gray, and it's spreading up her hand. So you're like, oh crap! So Agatha's going to take all of her power. So they fly basically to the top of the hex. It's like a storm. They're throwing magic at each other, and then all of a sudden Agatha says, "I want it all," and Scarlet Witch is like, I'm sick of it. I don't want it anymore. Here, take it. And she just starts throwing all of her power at Agatha, and Agatha is just taking it. And then Agatha starts pulling all the magic out of Wanda, and she has it all. She basically has all of Wanda's power, and Wanda looks like she's about to die. She looks like the Salem witches from back when they tried to, light up Agatha back in the day. And then because she had made a promise to her, she said, if you give me all your magic, I will make all your pain go away. I'll make all your grief go away, and you can live here and with your kids and with Vision as long as you want, and you won't have any memory of your pain. And so Wanda's like, I don't want it. I don't want any of this. And she gives it to her. And then Agatha's basically like, I lied. And then she went to throw her magic back at Wanda to kill her. And nothing came out.
Yeah.
Like, it was like sparks. And then you see her go, ah! And nothing comes out. I laughed audibly on that. And then all of a sudden, all surrounding Agatha and Wanda, on the actual inside walls of the Hex, you see all these humongous runes start appearing. And then you realize Wanda, as she was throwing magic at Agatha, had been casting runes on the Hex. So only Wanda can use magic inside the Hex.
Yeah.
Dude,
that was so
that was
cool.
sweet.
I didn't see that coming when she did that. Like, I did not see it until I seen the runes starting to appear. I was like, oh my goodness. Lock in chat saying it's like as soon as she started missing left and right, I immediately was like, what's she doing? Something's not right
I didn't
here.
catch that, Lock. I was like,
neither did I. I didn't even catch that she was doing it on purpose until I seen the runes, and I was like, oh my goodness, she played her.
Yeah.
She literally trapped her in here.
You didn't see that coming?
But like, she traps her in here with that and basically puts an end to her right away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because she can't fight back anymore. She doesn't have magic.
Yeah.
When that takes place as well, we've also got the other fight taking place where Haywood shows up with his the sword agents that he's got left, and I love the fact that Wanda basically tells the boys to deal with it.
Yeah,
which
dude,
they take,
that was hilarious.
Which like Billy freezes everybody. Tommy like runs past them all, steals all their guns. Which I love that somebody pointed it out. Like, it also makes a little nod to Quicksilver in the X-Men movies.
Yeah, he steals the hat
by stealing the hat and glasses. Yeah. So he looks like Quicksilver when he does that. Take all that stuff. So basically, take out those agents. Hayward decides he's going to start shooting at children. Good job. Only for Monica to step in, who gets away from her captor, holding her in his man cave. As we find out that Quicksilver, Pietro, is not who he seems. He is actually Ralph Boner.
Boner, that's Boner, Boner. I can't spell.
Like, literally Boner. Like, I saw his name and it's like, there was like other letters there, and I was like, maybe it's Boner, maybe it's going to be something like that. No, it's literally Ralph Boner.
Yeah.
And we find out that Ralph, that Agatha or Agnes had been like referencing this whole time, was him, because she'd literally just moved into his house and was squatting there.
Yeah.
And like relegated him to like a man cave and was controlling him by a necklace that he was wearing.
Alright. Oh. So Ads has a theory.
Okay.
What if Ralph is the one who's in witness protection and is actually Quicksilver, and Strange knew that Wanda would go insane, so he got him to try to calm her down, but Strange couldn't warn anyone about Agatha, as her downfall wouldn't have happened. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, basically, like, the whole reason that Wu was there, the person that was in witness protection, is Ralph, and he is actually Quicksilver. But like, Doctor Strange knew and was hoping he'd be able to help Wanda, but couldn't tell anybody. Kind of like in Infinity War and Endgame, like they start like, I can't tell you it's the one, or it won't come true. Like, I can't tell you anyone who he actually is, or Agatha won't be defeated.
See, that's the thing, Isaac. Like, I don't understand. Like, I can understand how Agatha could control people, but I don't understand how she could give someone super speed.
Well, that's it. It's like, where did the super speed come from? But then, again, like, we don't know the length of her powers, because
that's true.
You know, it's like, is it possible to do that, or is it super speed, or is it just like an illusion? Because the only one he ever ran at super speed with was with the kids. He never like grabs anybody and tries to run super speed with them. He runs about with Billy and Tommy, who technically aren't there.
Yeah.
You know. But like, I kind of hope there's more truth to that. Otherwise, he's literally now a thrown away character of random dude that lives in the town.
Yeah.
He's like an actor, and it was his headshot with his name on it and stuff. So like when Monica rips the necklace off him, like that's it, he's done.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And it's like all of that, all of these multiversal theories, and he's Ralph Boner.
Right out the window. He's not Mephisto. He's not Quicksilver. He's Mr. Boner.
It was literally that thing. It was like I kind of said it earlier. It was literally that thing of there was all these theories of who he was, and everybody wanted to be right with their theories, and it was almost like Marvel went, he's not going to be any of those. But well, who is he? Oh, he's nobody. You literally could have said anybody's name.
Yeah.
And it would have been better than he's a random dude called Ralph Boner. Literally anyone. I mean, I'd have taken it, like the fact that like, oh, he's not Quicksilver, he's being used in that role, but like Evan Peters is now in the MCU and he's actually this hero.
Yeah.
I'd have taken it, or he's this side character, or he's someone, like, I'd have taken that. You know? Hell, like, he's technically Tommy from the future. You know, a grown-up version of Tommy that comes back or something,
Yeah.
you know. Give me something that links it.
I feel like, and I know we were talking about this earlier, I feel like they did this as kind of like a tip of the hat to people who have been around for a while. It's like, hey, we know. And I don't think they realized how carried away this was going to make fans.
Oh, no. I don't think they had a clue.
I don't think they had any clue the amount of scrutiny that this was going to have.
I think that's the thing, though, is like, Marvel's so smart with this stuff. And I think after a certain while, we were all starting to... The show is designed to get you thinking in theories.
Yeah.
Even from, like, episode 1. Nothing happens. It's literally just a sitcom. And then you get the person sitting at the table.
Yeah.
With a sword notebook. It's designed to get you starting to think on theories. You know this is tying into Doctor Strange, which is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
There's clearly a multiverse element to it. Multiverse of Madness. Wanda in the comics goes mad. It's like you start to think it's all linked that way. And then you bring in Evan Peters. You could have literally had a random actor be brought in. Like, oh, I'm the new Pietro. Like, oh, she recast him. But like the fact that you went out of your way and got Evan Peters, who plays the other Quicksilver.
Yeah.
You must have known that we were going to latch on to that.
Yeah.
And it's like, but the fact of like, yeah, like it's the same, like it was a stupid troll move in chat. And I'm like, it was done as a troll move. And I'm like, there's no, you could have done anything with that. Even if you didn't have a plan at first, you could have made it into something.
There is still a small chance that they'll revisit that, and this was just the beginning of a long play, or a slow roll by Marvel to introduce him. But I don't know. It did not come across that way.
No,
it just came across as we're just using him as a tip of the hat to Marvel fans. And
yeah,
he
it's
is
like
just a throwaway character.
It's a throwaway Easter egg because he plays Quicksilver and something else, and it's like you could have done something with it, and it was just another red herring, which I don't think I would necessarily have had an issue with if they hadn't done so many red herrings in it.
Yeah.
There was so many things that, like we've talked about, went nowhere or ended up without a payoff, or it looks like we're not going to get a payoff. Maybe we will for some of them. You know, Marvel's done stuff in the past. Yeah. And overall, I did fully enjoy the show, and I do trust where they're going with it.
Yeah, I love the show.
I feel like if there was one misstep that I would change, it's that one. He doesn't need to be Quicksilver. He doesn't even need to be from another universe. It doesn't have to be a multiverse thing. Just have him be someone. Even if it's someone from the comics, it can be a throwaway side character. Just at least let the name be a reference to someone in the comics so you can go, oh, that was such and such. And leave it at that. I keep hitting my mic. My hands are very moving about today.
You're very animated today.
Yeah, I really am. But he was taken out after we found out he was Boner.
Yeah.
Just to wrap it up, Monica goes, saves the kids, stands in front of them, and absorbs the energy from the bullets.
Yep.
And they literally just fall out the back of her. Which I love that Hayward, even if he was Hayward was going completely crazy, just taking his shots. They get stopped by Monica. If shooting at kids the first time wasn't bad enough, he reloads and goes again. And it's like, dude, and then gets into his car, and Darcy drives the van into him.
Yeah, because I can't shoot them, so I'm gonna run over them.
I'm just gonna run them all over, and it's like, dude, like, come on, what are you hoping? Yeah, I agree with you, Isaac. The red herrings were a bit much.
So I wanted to go back. I know we're kind of over time, but so when Agatha and Wanda are fighting, and Wanda finally overcomes her, she finally gets decked out in her whole Scarlet Witch.
Looks
attire.
So good.
Eyes glowing, hands glowing. She's got the crown. She's got the cape. She's got the flowing dress, everything, and it looks awesome. It looks awesome.
It looks so amazing. And then we already talked about it. She puts the runes up, defeats Agatha, and traps her as Agnes. Basically, like, if I need you later, I'll come and get you. So we could see her come back even as soon as like Doctor Strange 2, depending on what happens with that. Isaac, what was Hayward's play anyway? He already saw Wanda's power level. What was he going to do to her?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Like,
I don't know if they.
Yeah, like she like lifted up the walls of like Westview before the final fights happened, let everybody out, which is what let Hayward in the first place with these people. And it's like, yeah, what was the plan here? You're trying to get Vision back. It's like, well, your white Vision has disappeared somewhere. What were you literally trying to do in this point?
Yeah.
And like, you know her power level before she unleashed it all. I'm like, why would you try and take it on head on?
So, Lock City, Isaac says, what was Hayward's plan always? He knew her power level. Yeah, what was he going to do? Yeah, I don't know. I really just don't think they thought that out.
No. It was just kind of like get him into the final thing so we can just end it.
Lock City said it was such a perfect adaptation. The costume, I was ready to accept her original costume as the MCU adaptation, but the one they gave her now is Chef's Kiss.
Oh yeah, it looks phenomenal.
Perfect. And I think it's very tasteful because obviously the one in the comics, she's basically wearing a leotard or whatever it's called, right? A swimsuit. She's basically wearing a swimsuit. Yeah. Let's be honest.
Okay. And some of them not even that.
Yeah.
It's some of the drawings of it, and I'm like, but this one it was done very well, and it looked
perfect,
phenomenal. And then we talked about the other stuff as well. We talked about her leaving the town and stuff, and like she doesn't really apologize. I think guilt more than anything drives her out of there. She does the whole finale with Vision and the kid. She talks to Monica, and then she leaves. And we see her in this secluded cabin, basically now with the Darkhold, looking like she's putting up a front of like she's at the cabin living, and she's actually in a back room, Doctor Stranging it with.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's definitely a very like when Doctor Strange was sleeping in his astral projection form was studying the books. It's definitely.
And I'm wondering if that's a
callback to that.
That's it. I'm wondering if it's a callback to that, but also that's a hint of like her power level has like
she can do it while she's awake.
Up the ante a little bit.
Yeah.
Of like she's now getting even stronger with what she's doing, and obviously when she's looking at the book, we hear the kids yelling, which we all kind of knew was coming, that we weren't going to see the last of Billy and Tommy because there's a lot of stuff heavily hinting at Young Avengers coming.
Yeah.
Just a lot of the characters that are coming into it, so we've not seen the last of them, of Speed and Wiccan. They'll be back. Yeah. Maybe even they'll get the Cassie Lang treatment of when we see them later, they'll be aged up again to be teenagers. But yeah, that's pretty much where the show left us. We talked about the end credits of like Monica looks like she's going to go see Fury. We don't know where White Vision is, and I think this was a really good first chapter of Phase 4.
I agree. It was awesome. I mean, I will say this. I got really frustrated with the length of the episodes and having to wait a full week. And I understand the reason.
I don't think anybody got frustrated with the length of the episodes half as much as they got frustrated that the length of the episode was 10 minutes cut off what it said, because it was like 10 minutes of credits.
Yeah. So, I mean, I
even worse.
I get why they did it, because they were trying to stick to the sitcom trope. I get it. 100% get it. But, I mean, I am hoping that shows from now on for Disney Plus, for Marvel, are longer per episode. I'm really hoping they are.
They were way too short. Don't get me wrong.
Way too short.
I think that's the thing. No, I was just gonna say is like at first I thought it was like it was a sitcom trope, which would have worked if it'd been the initial couple of episodes. The fact that it continued after that was like, okay, no, we need more. Like, and even the last episodes, like we got all the call-outs of like, oh, Kevin Feige says the last episodes are going to be like an hour long each, and they weren't.
Yeah. No, they were like 30 minutes.
Even the final episode was like, what, 40, 50 minutes in length, and again, take the 15 minutes of credits off. It was like...
Oh my gosh.
But we'll see if that continues, because a week on Friday, we get Falcon Winter Soldier debuting. So we kind of seen the memes online as well, like I'm not ready to jump frames here. So let's do a kind of wrap up of it then, of like what overall closing thoughts on WandaVision. What did you think of the show? Do you recommend it? Is it overall, was it worth it? And what do you think about it setting up phase 4 essentially? Because phase 3 ended with Far From Home, and we've literally had a 1.5 year gap. So like, does this set us up to go back into the world of Marvel?
I think it does, and I loved how it was just a deep dive into Wanda and Vision, and I loved how it explored like every facet of their characters and their relationship and their love. I did have a few gripes with it, which we've kind of talked about in the show. I feel like they set up a whole lot of stuff that they didn't pay off, and that I don't think they are going to pay off. I feel like I feel like in the last couple of episodes, I feel like they dropped the ball on a couple things, like with the sword, and Mr. Boner. But overall, I would probably give the show like an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah,
I thought it was really good. The acting was phenomenal for the most part. But man, Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany just crushed it. They crushed it.
Absolutely. I'd have to say the same. I think kind of looking at chat as well, what they're saying is like, it's like the shorter episodes and stuff is a big thing. And not everything needs a show, but we're glad we got these freshed out. Absolutely. But Isaac was saying, the quality of the show was amazing. I think Feige will learn from this, and they'll just keep getting better, though.
Yeah.
And that's the thing to remember is, like, ignore everything that's came before. Ignore, like, the TV shows that came before. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., let's be honest, it didn't really tie in once Winter Soldier happened. Once Winter Soldier happened, that was, like, the end of the show being part of it. Like, literally, you started a show called Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right as you got rid of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
And then decided, hey, let's keep the show going. It was always going to be its own thing. The Netflix shows, as awesome as some of those are, I love the Netflix shows. We did a whole episode on those. I love most of them. I love a few of them at least. Two, at least two.
Iron Fist is still bad.
100%. But they don't link to the MCU. This is the first time they've taken TV shows and literally done the whole it's all connected thing and meant it. And these aren't just like, hey, these are tie-in TV shows. Like, no, these are part of Phase 4. WandaVision is the start of Phase 4 of the MCU. So you need to take it as almost like the first TV show from this branch of stuff. And if you take it as the first show, it's amazing. It's phenomenal on its own, but then when you think of all the gripes and the different stuff, the red herrings that were set up, some of the things that didn't work out, the Ralph Boner thing, the different stuff like that, it's like, yeah, they're gripes for me, but not enough when you think about this is their first one. Imagine how the shows are going to look by the end of the year when we've got, Miss Marvel and Hawkeye dropping, and we've had literally a year of build up to work on the shows. Imagine what the MCU shows are going to look like next year with the learning curve that they're on. I think it's a great starting point. I would say the same as well, about 8.5 probably. This was a show I did not care about when it was announced. I couldn't care less, and very quickly, like, the first week intrigued me. When we got episode 1 and 2 back to back, it intrigued me. When episode 3 dropped, I was hooked, and I had to see what happened next. And every week, it just kept getting better for me. Like, this show became a must-see show for me, and that was an amazing thing for them to do when I didn't care.
Yeah. I agree with you and Isaac. I think they will take this not as an L, because this was definitely a dub, but they'll take it and learn from their mistakes from this show, some of their bigger mistakes, and I feel like they're just going to make it better. I mean, when you have the director of the show coming out before the finale and saying, I think people are going to be disappointed, that's not a good thing. Yeah, because that's what he was basically saying. Like, I feel like people have built this up to be a thing, a lot of these things to be things, and I think people are going to be disappointed. So I think they're going to learn from this. Like, you're not going to set up stuff. People are not going to miss things in shows. So if you don't want to set up something to be something, then you just don't address it, or don't address it in a specific way. Yeah,
but at the same time, it's an interesting thing though. Like, they set up stuff here, and I think they're going to start to use it to their advantage. I think there's going to be a lot more they can do with it. But I think as the start of the MCU, it's gotten me excited for the rest of the shows. I'm probably more excited for the Disney Plus shows now than I am the movies, to be completely
Really?
honest. Like, there's some great movies coming out this year, but like when you compare stuff like Black Widow, I'm not overly hyped about. Like, I think it'll be good,
Yeah, I'm not. I don't really care. See, I'm like
but
that, like you were with WandaVision with Black Widow. I'm like, I
yeah,
don't really
I'm
care
not
about it.
overly hyped about that. Shang-Chi, I'm sure will be interesting, but off the bat, I'm like, it's not one I'm like hyped for. I hope it's like Guardians of the Galaxy. It's something that really draws me in.
Hmm.
But off the bat, I'm not overly like, hey, it's going to be amazing. But like, I'm so excited for the shows that they're doing and the characters that are coming in there.
Hmm.
So like, I'm definitely all in for seeing where these shows go.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I think that's pretty much everything to say on WandaVision. If you guys have got anything else you want to talk about it, you can hit us up on our Discord and on social media. Keep the conversations going. We try to talk about it in one of the channels on our Discord and keep it and allow that to be a spoiler chat, so you can go all in if you want to talk about that sort of stuff. You know, people are like mourning the Netflix shows at this point over there. I'm glad you're finally getting a movie, but at this point it feels too little, way too
I
late.
agree.
Yeah, absolutely a lot.
I agree.
Because we all know she's dead and not coming back. Yeah, pretty much. Hope with the X-Men they give the right thing and give us Jubilee. I'm not gonna lie, as Jubilee's like one of the last things on my mind when it comes to X-Men. There's so many other characters.
I just want a proper. I want a proper Gambit. Can we get a proper Gambit in a movie, please?
Well, it can't be that hard to get it right compared to what we had. We've only had one, and then the Channing Tatum one, which was in development for like forever, and then just never.
I could have seen that.
It
I
just
could have
never
seen him do that.
happened.
Yeah.
It was so sad because even when the deals were going on, there was part of him that was still talking like he honestly thought it was going to happen. And like, I kind of have to give him credit for that, because like, you know what, you held on as long as you could to that, son. You thought it was going to take place. You were sold that that was happening, and it just, you were like the last one holding on, and the rest of us were like, no, it's not.
I
It's
just
just,
want to see a proper love relationship between Gambit and Rogue. I mean, let's do that. Come on, man. Come on, MCU. Let's do it.
to be fair, we've not seen any between them, because you know we got the whole amazing Rogue and Iceman love story in the X-Men movies. Locke wants a good Gambit as well. Optimism at its finest. So is Channing Tatum still there? He probably thinks he is Isaac.
He's like 58 now, so not really. He's like 57.
Anyway, it'd be perfect to play Wolverine then. He's getting up there. Wolverine's old.
Shia LaBeouf. What?
No, don't start this again. We're not. But thank you so much for everyone that came in and joined in the conversation today. And yeah, thank you for even sticking around through our technical difficulties. Tatum's only 40, Locke's in. But yeah, thank you for sticking around for it. Thank you for joining the conversation. Next week, we will be back at 2 o'clock, maybe even coming a bit earlier and playing, because we usually do our pre-show, so maybe just jump straight into games. Because we are not doing it, we are now in March, so we are only doing the podcast on the first and third Sundays of the month.
Mm-hmm.
So next week, we are actually going to be jumping on and playing a little bit of Apex Legends.
That's
So
right.
come along,
See
keep
us
us
get
company.
destroyed.
Come along, watch us play horribly and do nothing of worthwhile, except gather really good equipment to die instantly. Wish Armitage is Wolverine, except.
No, he's too tall. Ads. Don't even start this conversation this late.
You're going to set
This
him
is
off.
not okay. This is not okay. You're going to set me off.
Oh dear. See, you guys get to go away. I need to deal with this once we sign off now. But yeah, so like we'll be doing that again next week, so come along, hang out with us for Apex. There will be a third slot if anyone does want to jump in and play with us again. Apart from that, we'll be doing duos and sucking desperately at it probably. I of course will be back tomorrow night at around 9 o'clock, maybe a little bit earlier if I can get on, playing Star Wars. We ended at an interesting point last week of facing off against a Sith boss, which I was not able to beat before I ended the stream. So we'll be jumping straight back into that with my brand new double-sided lightsaber that I got. So we'll be jumping into that as of tomorrow night. So come and join us in for Monday Night Crossplay. Make sure that you also connect with us on our Discord and on social media. Nine Sister Fight Lock. I think it might have been, I'm not sure. But make sure you connect with us on our Discord and on our social media, especially to get questions in for the trivia for the 12-hour stream and to keep up to date with it. If you're helping us out with the 12-hour stream, I will hopefully be sending you out an email this week with the new schedule once we kind of solidify everything and once we get all the artwork and posters and stuff done for Nitro's going to be working on that this week, so hopefully we'll have that for you by next weekend at least. So hopefully we'll get all that stuff out to you soon to help with the advertising. But guys, tell everyone you know about it, get all the information out there that we've given you already, and keep up to date with it all on social media and Discord. I know, Locke, keep distracting us. Yes, I think it's that one I'm fighting, Locke. It's like, yeah. Alright, so 1Geek411 are on. They are playing Control right now, so we are going to go and give them a raid and show them some love. They are good friends of ours. If you are not following them, please hang around to raid and just to give them a little boost in numbers, watch what they are doing, hang out with them a little bit. If you have not dropped them a follow, go ahead and drop them a follow and just show them some love for us. Way too many hours fighting that boss. If you are also a sub to us, let's get some hype going in the chat with the hype and the Stan Lee emotes once we drop in there. But y'all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I will see you all tomorrow night. Take care and have a good one.
Adios, muchachos.